Hey everyone, thanks so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The death of Ace breaks more than just the world. It breaks fate itself. Thrown into the One Piece universe 10 years before canon, a grieving outsider meets a young Monkey D. Luffy and makes a single decision. This time, Ace will not die. As Luffy's journey begins far earlier than it should, the future slowly unravels, bringing Sabo back into the picture, exposing hidden truths like the mysterious A-Clan, and forcing the brothers to face a destiny that was never meant to change. With friendship, sacrifice, and defiance against fate at its core, this rewritten timeline becomes a battle not just against enemies, but against the future itself. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is The Chronicle by ThiefofStealth. Respect to author.
Chapter 39, Special Heroics, Journey to Grand Line. I decided I'm gonna be a pirate, said a young teen with short black hair and a certain double-blade scythe strapped on his back, enthusiastically. Do any of you still remember this young teen? That's right, this young teen boy is Canary V. Heroics, Eri-chan's rival. It seems the young man already decided something that would change his whole life later. What are you saying, young man? Exclaimed a certain town mayor as he hit the young man's head with a stick. Did you forget what that buggy do to us? He yelled once again, which of course went through left and right ears without any process to the brain. Of course not, silly. Heroics laughed, but I already make up my mind that I'm gonna be a pirate, mayor. He replied with a big grin and bright aura. You're just the same as your father, the mayor of the Orange Town muttered softly as he sighed with Chow Chow barked at Heroics beside him. Did you say something, mayor? Heroics asked, still with excited aura around him. I did not. The mayor lied and he sighed as he saw the positive auras around the young teen that now talking about his plans on becoming a pirate to Chow Chow, who only barked as an answer. Yosh, well, as a pirate, I need a boat to set sail. Bye mayor, I'm gonna search for a boat. The teen shouted as he ran toward the dock, hoping there will be a boat for him and the townspeople will be kind-hearted to give him one. Ooey, fish awesome, I need a boat. Heroics yelled to a worn-out fish shop near the dock, which earning a fish to get thrown to the teen's direction that immediately dodged by the teen. What's your problem, fish awesome? He yelled at the owner of the shop, who walked out from the shop and showing the owner's features to the world. The owner is actually a man, probably around his 30s, with quite a body. He has deep blue hair color that being held up with a white cloth that tied around his forehead. He also has a scar on his left forehead and a forever exist scowl on his face, which earning a scary features to the townspeople that knew him. He wore a sleeveless shirt and 3/4 trousers with slippers as footwear. He also wore an apron that tied around his waist. Fish awesome, give me a boat, Heroics exclaimed again, and earning a hit in the head by the man. That hurt, you stupid awesome, he yelled as he caressed on the just-formed bump on his head. That is for calling me an awesome. The man replied with an ever-exist scowl on his face. I'm still 39, you brat. He continued as he huffed. So what, I don't care, Heroics replied as he stuck out his tongue before he remembered back his plan. Oh yeah awesome, I need a boat, he told the man. For what? The man asked. For a start point for me to become a pirate. No, the man replied firmly as he crossed his arms. What? Why? The young teen yelled back. Because you're going to be a pirate, Nuff said. The man replied as he walked back inside to his shop, which of course being followed by the young teen that kept bothering him by telling him to give him a boat. But why? Quote. Oh come on, fish awesome. Give me a boat, the teen boy exclaimed stubbornly as he was clinging on the man, which pissing him off. First, my name is not Fish Awesome, it's Fisnell. And second, I won't give you any. The man, which actually named Fisnell, yelled to Heroics as he kicked the teen away from him. But you sell fishes. Heroics protested, come on, Fish Awesome. Give me one, pretty please. He begged as he clings on Fisnell's legs, who tried to kick him off from his legs. Let go you brat, Fisnell yelled with shark teeth. Give me a boat. Heroics tried again. No, give me one. Absolutely no way. Why? Heroics asked, which making Fisnell stopped his beatings to the teen boy, who was now staring blankly at him. Fisnell put down his leg as he sighed heavily, making the teen boy to stare at him in confusion. Why, you ask? Fisnell asked back and Heroics nodded. The man sighed and answered, that's because I lost my children years ago because of pirates. You have children? Heroics asked as he finally let Fisnell's legs and sat down neatly, which followed by the man who sat down in front of him and nodded. They're probably around 13 and 9 years old by this year, Fisnell continued as he took a frame of photo on the nightstand and stared at it nostalgically. Those are your children? Horox asked again as he peeked to see the photo, which showed Fisnell in his early 30s with a small girl with green hair and 2 sets of antennae, made of hair and a bundle of baby in the man's arms, who was sleeping soundly. Yeah, Fisnell replied shortly as he put a thumb to stroke the photo slowly. They were kidnapped by pirates when they were 7 and 3. He continued sadly. I just hope they're still alive and kicking. He said softly. Horox just stared at the man blankly before grinning. It's all right, Fish-Asen, he said, and Fisnell looked up to him. I'll become a pirate and finds them for you. Besides, I just want to become a pirate because I want to beat a rival of mine. He continued and laughed. Oh, she's a pirate anyway. He added and grinned. Finds them for me. The man echoed back and chuckled. Why did you say that? Not that you could find them in this vast sea, especially in Grand Line. He continued. Because I will find them. Horox exclaimed as he stood up with positive auras. Just wait, Fish-Asen. I'll find them and I'll come back with them later. He said and grinned widely, which earning a wide eyes by the man before the man chuckled. It seems I don't have a choice but give you a boat, eh? The man said softly before stood up, putting the photo back on the nightstand and turned to the young man. Alright brat, let's see if you could do this. He said as he walked out from the shop, while Horox following him cheerfully as he finally can set sail and become a pirate to match his rival. XXX. Well then, it seems this is my off then. He exclaimed after he jumped on the boat and turned to face the townspeople, which want to see him off. Don't forget to be careful with the sea monsters. One of the townspeople yelled. And don't be a bad pirate. Another one shouted. Ah, don't worry about it, I won't. Horox replied and laughed. Fish-Asen, he called loudly, hoping the man that giving him the boat but didn't want to see him set off can hear him, which actually behind a house near the dock. I swear I will find your kids and bring them back to you. He yelled and grinned widely before turning around. Well then, I'm off everyone. He bid them and set sail, while the townspeople that seeing him set off cheered and yelling at him about things. Unbeknownst to any of them, Fisnell is smiling at that statement before walked away from the spot where he is earlier to his shop is, decided to opens up now. Look at that, Chow Chow, the town mayor pointed out to the white dog beside him, that also seeing the cheerful teen boy set off and turned to look at Orange's town's mayor. I'm sure you still remember the man with same cheerful grin and antics years ago that came to me with a baby in a bundle, right? He asked as he smiled softly. The dog woofed softly, confirming that he still remember that time. Well, it seems he really is his father's son, right? He asked and chuckled softly while the dog woofed at him, agreeing with him. Chapter 39. Hey Chopper. I called him as we were about to continue our journey. He hummed and turned. What is it, Airy? He asked. Can I ask you about something? I whispered, glancing at Ace's back, who was stretching up. Sure, ask away, he replied and smiled a bit. I paused for a moment as I looked around, hoping that no one will eavesdrop, and whispered at him, do you think I'm sick? Sick, he yelled, and I shushed him, which unfortunately taking everyone's attentions. They looked at us and we just grinned nervously before got back to our conversation. Not so loud, I whispered at him and he nodded in understand. Sorry, he apologized softly. So are you sick? What sickness? He asked as we started to walk, continuing our journey to Yuba. Well, I started and hummed a bit as I was thinking, every time I saw Ace's smiles and when he's around, my heartbeats always get faster than usual and my face getting hotter. I said softly, and then I really want to see his smiles or see him like that forever. I finished. Do you think I'm sick? I asked as I finished. He was in deep thought as he heard my statement and I was waiting for him to respond. He finally snapped out from his thoughts and giggled softly before turning to me. It's okay, Airy, your sickness isn't that dangerous, he said with a smile, which confusing me a bit. So I'm sick? I asked and he nodded. What sickness? I asked again and he giggled. It's a love sickness, he answered with a grin. What? LLLL low love sickness. I whispered loudly and blushed darkly. What are you saying, Chopper? I exclaimed in embarrassment as my face flushed in deep red. Your reaction shows it, he pointed out with a smile. Me, in love, with Ace, seriously, but it can't be possible, right? He's too awesome and handsome for me. I'm not pretty, I'm not awesome like him. Well, I'm badass, but that's another matter. Are you kidding, Chopper? I asked softly, hoping that he was lying. Doctors never lie about his patient's sicknesses, he stated firmly. Seriously, XXX. I was so lost in thought at Chopper's statement a moment ago, and unbeknownst to me, Ace was looking at me with worried look before turning back to Sanji-san, having another conversation. So lost in thought as I didn't even realize that the sun is getting high and the temperature is getting hotter, so sweat started raining down from my whole body. Then I stopped when I finally realized that the temperature is killing me. Wait, so it's been so hot like this the whole time? I asked as I wiped out the sweats from my face. What, you didn't realize it? Zoro asked in amazement as he pulled Chopper on the slide. Not until now, I replied softly as I pulled out my bow staff and used it as a walking stick. So slow, aren't you? Nami stated as she sweat dropped. Shut up, I snapped and huffed in exhaust. I looked up and saw high mountains of sands with some of the straw hats already ahead. Is it still far? I asked with a little bit loud voice to Vivi, who was already ahead of me. Well, yes, we're not even a quarter to Yuba. She replied with a pity smile while I jaw dropped widely before looked down in depression. Goodbye my life, hello to you hell that full of heats. I cried comically with an imagination of level 4 impel down and I was dumped into the hot pot there. I heard a chuckled and a pat on my head. Come on, Eri, it's not that bad. I heard Ace said, if you're tired, I'll carry you if you want. He offered while I felt my face heated up and I shook my head fast. No, it's alright, I'm perfectly fine, I replied and walked faster, away from Ace, who was confused by my antics. I sighed as I just realized that my heart is beating faster than before and a tingling sensation in my stomach. So this is love felt like. It's kind of weird, I thought and glanced from my shoulder, looking at Ace, who was talking things to Sanji-san. But I like it. I turned back forward and shrugged at the thought. Let's just hope Ace won't mind with this kind of feelings. I finished. After a few, I dunno, maybe a few hours and the sun is high above us, I finally gave up and am being carried by Ace in a piggyback ride. Luffy was lost in Jenkin and he carried almost all of the supplies we brought. He's whining all the way while the others are telling him to shut up and pull it all. Hey, Rock's sighted dead ahead, Usopp announced, which snapping Luffy and me as we looked up in excitement. Really? We yelled and I jumped off from Ace and ran along with Luffy as we yell, break time. Damn.
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
They're fast, I heard Usopp exclaimed while the others just sweat dropped at the sight and Takao flew after us. Aw, shade, so nice, Luffy said as he flopped down on the sand beside the rock, along with me. I didn't say anything as I thanked the god for the shade. Then we both realized some birds lying around the rocks, looking dead. Luffy went hysterical and he ran toward where everyone is, leaving me alone with the supplies and Takao landed next to me with Aro on his head. I told those two to watch on the supplies while I approached the birds, which also known as Warusages. I grabbed one of them in the neck and slowly choking it while I just stared at them in blank face. Then I grabbed another one in the neck and choked them both, and at the same time, Luffy came with the others and he yelled at me because I tried to kill them slowly. What? If you don't want them suffer, why don't we just kill them on the spot? It will stop their sufferings. I told them. Stop saying nasty things like that. Usopp yelled at me. Besides, there were Warusages, not just mere birds. I told them as I glared at the birds in my hands as I tightened my clutching. Right, Vivi. Yes, there were Warusages. They are called the thieves of the desert. They fool travelers and steal their luggage. She confirmed, thank goodness that Eri-chan able to trap some of them and Takao-san watched over the stuffs. She said, now that you mention it, the only birds here are the ones that in my hands now. Damn, I shouldn't let them get away earlier. Alright, Sanji-san, cook them for our lunch. I told him and offered him the birds, which already fainted because lacks of air. Hi, Eri-kwan, he replied and grabbed the birds to cook them, with the boys along with the animals except Aro and Luffy helped him out. After a few moments, lunch is finally ready to serve. Food. Both Luffy and me exclaimed and we ate fast, with a few times of stealing foods from others nearby, like Usopp and Chopper for examples. Oi, stop stealing my food, both of you. Usopp yelled, shark-teethed as he realized that we stole his foods. Too late. We laughed and ate our food again. After a few moments, we finally finished and we just realized that some of our stuffs are gone, like one barrel of waters and some of our supplies of foods. Then Luffy spotted the Warusages with our stuffs and ran after them, only ran back toward us a few moments later with panicked expression as he screamed with a big thing behind him. He's being chased. Nami pointed out while Usopp jaw dropped far. It's a Sandora dragon. Vivi exclaimed and I spotted a familiar camel beside Luffy. I suppose we should save that camel running beside him. Sanji-san said, what star was I born under that give me all this damn trouble? Zoro pointed out as he took out one of his katanas and I took out my bow staff, connecting the Bisanto blade on it. Let's beat it and if we can cook it, let's do this. I said as I grinned while the lizard is getting closer. We ran toward the lizard and prepared out our weapons as we braced our attacks. Gomu Gomu no, Tatsu, Epel, Ryu no, Muchi Maki shoot Setsudano. Right after we attacked it, it plumped down in a boom to the sands, dead, and turned the staff back to baton length and grabbed the blade piece before slipping the baton back to the belt. I grinned as sweat started trailing down hard, damned heats. Sanji, is this thing edible? Luffy asked. Yeah, looks like it, the cook replied. Perfect timing, Zoro said. I'm still hungry because of a certain person kept stealing my foods. He continued before glaring at me, while I just looked away still with trailing sweats hard. We walked back as we pulled the lizard up and started cleaning it up from the skins before cooked the meats on the stones, which acting like nature's frying pans. What's up with the camel? Zoro asked as we wait for the meats. Dunno, when I was chasing the birds, he came running up. Luffy answered as he ate the meat in his hand, then I saw the lizard chasing him, so I started running too. He continued. It doesn't look wild. It's got a saddle and everything. Nami pointed out. We can ride it. That'll be so nice. Luffy cheered. Yeah, good thing. I bet 2 or 3 people could ride on it. Usopp said, you really do need camels in the desert. Then after Luffy finished with his meat, he tried to ride the camel up, only get bitten by the camel because of it. I am just a passing camel. Thanks for rescuing me, Chopper said, translating the camel up. I'll let you ride me, but I won't let any guys ride. That's what he says. Takao finished. That, of course, causing the boys to beat the crap out of the camel, but Nami apologized and stroked the camel's chin, which actually having a nosebleed with love-shaped eyes. What should I call you? Nami asked softly. Idiot, Luffy said. Moron, Sanji-san said. Dumbass, Usopp said. Arrow camel, I said. Okay, how about eyelashes? Nami finally said as she rode on the camel. VWO, the camel replied. That's worse than the other names. Zoro said as he sweat dropped. Get on, Vivi, Eri. Nami said as the camel sat down. No, I'm fine, I can still walk. Vivi refused softly. Nah, I'm not going to ride that arrow camel. I refused. It's okay. Nami replied and Vivi finally get on the camel. Now we can get to Yuba a little faster. Nami said and the camel stood up before started to run fast, with the others following behind after they yelled at the girls and the camel. Hurry up everyone. If you get lost, you'll never make it out of the desert alive. Nami exclaimed in distance. Screw you. The boys but Ace and Sanji-san yelled. XXX. So, I started as I looked around with Ace right beside me. Where are we? I asked softly as the wind blew up the deserted desert around us, which only both of us remains. Why the hell did we got lost anyway? I grumbled. Well, you actually accidentally ate a cactus that caused an illusions and you ran off by yourself. I ran after you and when I got you and about to go back to the others, they're already gone and none of their footprints remains. Ace answered and I face-palmed myself. I did that. That's so lame. I sighed and fell on my knees, sweats trailing down. Now how are we going to go back? I asked before Ace pat my head as he crouched down to my eye level. Don't worry, Eri, we'll find them soon. He said and grinned, which making the tingling sensation in my stomach come back and I blushed slightly before I looked away. Why yeah, I replied and stood up. Let's go that way. I pointed away to my left and walked that way, leaving Ace with confused look. But the others went that way before we got lost. He pointed to his right and I stopped before you turned and walked toward where Ace pointed about. I heard a snicker and I turned to Ace, who was snickering before laughing hard. What's so funny? I exclaimed in embarrassment as I blushed. Your bad sense in direction is still remains, he said and chuckled softly. Shut up. I replied and pouted as I puffed my cheeks and walked toward the direction that Ace pointed about. He's still chuckling but he eventually stops as he's right beside me before he tried to apologize to me, which of course I looked away as I puffed my cheeks and kept walking. Come on, are you still mad at me? He asked softly with a defeat grin. I just huffed before I detect something underneath the sand in front of us and I jumped away as the thing emerges out from the sand, along with Ace. The thing is revealed as a giant scorpion. It saw us and about to attack us, but Ace quickly burned it up and we decided to eat it. To be honest, scorpion meat is like shrimps. Kind of weird, cause shrimp is not my favorite seafood food, but whatever. We continue our journey until 2 certain geckos that walked in their hind legs. We stared at them at first before we moved to the other side, which followed by the geckos. This happened for a few moments before my patience finally died down and hit both of the geckos' head, which scaring them and we decided to ride on it to decrease the time in search of the others. Wait a second, I stopped the gecko I rode, which causing Ace to stop also. May I ask you something, Ace? I asked with seriousness and he nodded. What do you think of me? I asked openly, not as a little sister, but as a girl. I continued. There is an awkward silence but who cares? I need to clear this out by asking him about me and these stupid sensations I got. He started and I gulped in nervousness, waiting for the answer. You're actually the prettiest, the kindest, and the best girl I ever met. He replied and smiled at me, which making my heart beats faster and I felt the heat on my face as I felt I blushed. The tingling sensation in my stomach is there again and I turned my head to the front, hoping that Ace didn't see my red face, which kind of late as he saw it but didn't say anything on the sight. Oh, okay. I replied softly and continued our journey, Ace following behind. But still, your stubbornness is annoying. He added and laughed as he's right beside me. But, I find it kind of cute too. He continued with a wide, bright grin that possibly could be matched with the sun. That, ladies and gentlemen, officially made me blushed hard, like, real hard. As I felt my face is on fire and my ears are hot, not to mention my heart is beating faster and the tingling sensation in my stomach. That actually took Ace's guard off as he widened his eyes because of my reaction and blushed a bit before looked away. I looked away too as I kept telling myself to calm the fuck down. The ride was so awkward, as none any of us want to say anything. As the day was about to change into the night, we finally spotted everyone else and we cheered as we saw them. We ran toward them and yelled as we got closer to them, which taking everyone's attentions and they smiled and relieved. Yo Minna, I greeted with a grin. Does any of you miss us? I asked playfully. Probably these, family, of yours. Zoro replied as he pointed his thumb to the rest of my family, who were looked so happy to see both Ace and me up and jumped on me first before Ace. I thought we're gonna lost you two for sure. Luffy exclaimed as he hugged me again, tight. Luffy, can't, breath. I struggled up as the oxygen started to leave from my lungs and he quickly apologizes, which totally didn't sound so sorry at all, as he let go of me. I started breathing heavily and pinched his cheek in anger, which caused him to apologize properly. Alright then everyone, Vivi called and we turned to look at her. It seems the day has ended, why don't we end the day by resting near the rocks right over there? She pointed at some direction, showing the said rocks. Alright then. Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync and we ran toward the said rocks fast, which shocking most of the straw hats while Ace is shooing the geckos away as he thanked them for the ride. We plopped down next to the rocks and sighed in content while everyone else has gone after us. After a few moments, a bonfire is built and I was writing on my logbook as we all waiting for our dinner, which fortunately still there as they eventually found some monsters in the way and killed it for our food supplies. As I were writing about the monsters and our journey in the desert to Yuba with Ace, I felt someone sat down beside me and peeked from my shoulder, and I can felt the breath of the person that blowing my ear. My face flushed from the sudden blow and I jerked away from the person, which revealed as Ace that looked interested by my logbook. What, it's just you, I said as I rubbed my chest where the heart is inside in relief. What are you writing? He asked and grabbed the book, looking at it page per page from the first page. Our journey from both Luffy and me first set sail to our journey now. I replied as I tried my best to calm myself down, as I still can feel his breathing in my ear. He hummed as he looked at the pages before it stopped right at the end of the book, where a photo resides. He took it out and stared at the photo. You still have this photo? He asked as he smiled nostalgically. Of course, I replied and huffed as I pouted, it's a family photo, baka. Of course I still have it. I continued and he chuckled. The photo is a picture of me, Luffy, Ace, Sabo, Takao, Flame, R.O., Garp Jii, and Dayton back at the crappy hut. The four of us were beaten and full of bandages and band-aids, via Garp G's training. The only ones that smiling were only me, Luffy, Sabo, R.O., and Garp Jii, while the others just wearing an annoyed or straight faces. Actually, I found it kind of funny that you changed drastically from your younger self to now. I pointed out with teasing smile. Shut up. He snapped playfully before putting the photo back into the book and gave the book back to me. Dinner's ready, Sanji-san exclaimed and both Luffy and me perked up and cheered up at the announcement. We ate in a ruckus. Why? Because both Luffy and me are strikes again, back at stealing foods. Mostly on Usopp and Chopper, cause those two are easy praise. Stop stealing our food, you bakas. Usopp yelled at both of us, who just kept eating. Yeah, stop stealing, Chopper added and I quickly took his meat because of that. Hey, he yelled again. Then stop complaining and back to eat if you don't want your food or gone because we stole it. I told them and back to eat while those two were yelling again cause their foods are already gone because of both of us. What a normal dinner time. XXX. Love, I was leaning on the rocks while everyone else is already asleep, thinking deep. I'm actually never believed in love. Love is bullshit, especially if it's a love at first sight. That's more absurd. Love, I muttered, words of feelings. I paused for a moment before I stood up and walked away for a bit. I looked back as I assured myself that everyone is asleep and nodded. Kotoba Kamochi, Hatsune Miku. Try listening the song too. Guzen Mitsuketa Odo ga Enagu ni Kawat Yukanda, Hikaru wo mate tobu Kotoba Kamochi Sagashiteru, I sang softly and smiled. Murai wa Tekido Dakara Watashi wa o boat Okanda, Anata ni Todokatai Kotoba Kamochi Aishiteru, I smiled as the night breeze was blowing. Aishiteru. Hanto wa Samashi kunai Anata ni Uso Sudarunda, Hitori ga Kawai Kara Kotoba Kamochi Kakushiteru, I remembered the time back on Earth, I was always alone. I don't have many friends, and even if I did, it's not that many and they're not close to me. I always said that I'm not alone, but I actually am feeling lonely. Murai wo igaku dake nara enagu wa hitotsu da ienda, anata ga soba ni iru sor wa kito sateki na prism. I smiled as I remembered all my nakamas and my family here, hoping that I can make them happy, and protect them for all my might. Murai tekido dakara watashi wa o boat okanda, anata ni todokatai kotoba kamochi aishiteru. Then my memories traveled back to my families and friends back on Earth, hoping that the song I sang can reach them or whatever. Kotoba kamochi aishiteru. Unbeknownst to me, Ace stirred and sat up as he heard the soft tune of my voice. He turned and saw me in distance, singing softly. Aishiteru. Guzen Mitsuketa Odo ga Enagu ni Kawat Yukanda, Hikaru wo mate tobu Kotoba Kamochi Sagashiteru. I sang slowly as the tune get a little bit solemn, while Ace is listening to me from distance before decided to approaching me slowly. Murai wa tekido dakara watashi wa sekend miranda, anata ni itai yo kotoba kamochi aishiteru. I smiled as I sang before I felt a hand on top of my head. I turned, only to face with Ace, who was real close to my face as I could feel his breathings on my face. Aishiteru, Aishiteru. My face immediately flushed in deep red, along with my ears, and my heart is beating fast. I stared into his eyes, which are clear as water, not clouded like a person just woke up from sleep, as he started to close the gap between our faces before I felt something wet on my lips and I widened my eyes. Aishiteru, Aishiteru. The wet thing, which revealed as Ace's lips, was touching mine. I felt his hands on mine and I closed my eyes as we intertwined our hands and fingers together, feeling the surprisingly soft lips that connected to mine and surprisingly great feelings. After a while, we finally unconnected our lips and panting because of lacks of air, as we forgot to breathe using our nostrils. I leaned to his chest while he rested his chin on my head. I looked up and he also looked down. We stared at each other's eyes as both of our faces are red and our still intertwined hands clenched a little bit tighter. Ace started as I heard his voices quivering, while I stared at him as I waited for him. I love you, Eri, he said as his big hands clenched tighter around me. And, as a girl, not a little sister, he added softly. My face flushed deeply in red again as I looked down in embarrassment. I clenched my hands around his big hands. Is this love? I paused for a bit and looked up, his grayish eyes twinkling in the dark night. I think I love you, too, I finished and looked back down in embarrassment. After a little while, he let go of my hands and hugged me tight. I hugged him back as I buried my face into his chest. Maybe it's not so bad after all. XXX. The next morning, I was so in daze, as I even didn't realize that Luffy is kept stealing my food right now. Flowery auras were around me as I was dazing off to somewhere, which making everyone but Ace, who also in daze but not as bad as me, was looking at each other in confusion and sweat dropped at my flowery auras. Eri-chan, are you alright? I heard Vivi asked in worry. Yes, I replied as I smiled softly, flowery auras still around me and beaming with happiness. I'm extremely fine today, I continued and put a meat on my fork to my mouth. What's wrong with her, Chopper? Usopp asked in low tone to the reindeer hybrid, is she really fine? Doesn't looks like it to me, he continued. Well, she's actually in the second stage of her sickness right now. Chopper replied as he also sweat dropped at the sight. Sickness? What kind of sickness? Usopp asked. It's love sickness. Chopper replied and laughed nervously as almost everyone shouting, what, loudly. Love sickness. Nami exclaimed in disbelief. She, in love, she asked again as she pointed at me. With who? That, must be asked to someone here that obviously loves her, Sanji-san said as almost all of them turned to a certain fireman, who has obviously realized the staring at him. So, did you confess your feelings to her? Sanji-san asked softly while Aces blushed a little before nodded in excitement with beaming smile. Yeah, I did it yesterday night. He added with beaming smile. But I never thought that it will affect her this badly, he trailed off as he turned to his beloved little sister, and now his girlfriend, who was so lost in thought before I snapped out of it as I just realized that all my food are gone and quickly kicked him away hard. Luffy, you bastard, how dare you stole all my foods? I exclaimed in anger as the flowery auras around me earlier were replaced by fiery auras of anger. Yay, I've been found out, he exclaimed and screaming in fear as he ran away from me, who was fuming with my staff in my hands. Stop running so I can kill you. I yelled as I ran after him with shark teeth. No way. This kept going for a minute until I felt a hand yanked my arm and made me turn around, only to face with Ace. It was happening so fast as I felt a peck on my nose and then I saw him smirked at me before my face flushed in embarrassment before I heard cooing from the Straw Hats. Look at that, it's so adorable, I heard Nami said and my whole face is completely red, maybe as red as Buggy's nose. Nami. I yelled in embarrassment and she giggled at my reaction. But just so you know, Ace, she called and Ace looked at her, if you ever hurt her, even once, we won't hesitate to hunt you down to the end of the Grand Line, even though you're her brother. She continued with devilish smile. Then I felt a hand on my head and pulled my head to someone's chest, which Ace's chest and I could felt that he's smiling. I won't and I will always protect her. He said and grinned at me, which making me to blush a bit and grinned back and we laughed together in happiness. They're so adorable. Everyone thought as they saw the sight, while Luffy grinned at the sight in happiness, as his brother and sister are finally one. Love really is a mysterious but wonderful thing, XXX. We continued our journey and the sun is finally high above us again. I was being carried by Ace in piggyback ride as I can't stand of the heat stroke like ever while the others kept walking but the girls, which on the arrow camel and were talking to each other, who knows about what. Vivi, I heard Luffy called in exhaust, can't we take a rest now? He asked. It's just a little bit further, Luffy-san. Just hang in there, she replied apologetically while Luffy whined in disappointment. Maybe we could take a rest later at the rocks nearby if we found it, she continued. After who knows how long, probably around 2 to 3 hours, we finally in shade and we were resting for a moment while Sanji-san cooked for late lunch. I leaned on Ace as we finally in cool place and I drank on my flask of water until it's empty. I huffed in content as I finished my water and I heard Ace chuckled. "You seems happy with this break," he said with a smile. "Of course," I replied enthusiastically, "besides, I'm hungry." I continued and giggled, "Geshishishi." He chuckled and pecked my forehead, "It will be always food," he said, and we grinned together. "Lunch is ready," Sanji-san exclaimed, and we ate again cheerfully. After a while and we finally finished our meal with Zoro went angry to both Luffy and me. "Just how many times do I have to tell you about stealing my food?" he yelled. "I dunno, probably 100 times or more." I chirped cheerfully, which is earning a glare by the Marimo, and I laughed. After a few moments, we saw the last chicken leg is floating and Luffy yelled at it before ran after it. I just stared at the figure of my big baby brother that running away before shrugged it off before decided to ran after it by myself using haki. I jumped on the rocks and detected 2 small figures running away while my brother is far away from the small figures. I jumped on the haki as I followed the figures with my haki, while the others were following me from behind before I stopped and Ace is right beside me while the figures are right below us. "You know that it's bad to steal from someone," I pointed out with a smirk, which making the figures to flinched and showed themselves. "They're actually kids, they have similar faces, so they're brothers then." "Who are you?" One of the kids, possibly the older brother, yelled at me. "You know it's rude to yell to older people and asking them their names before giving theirs." This time, Ace pointed out. Then the older one pointed out a gun at us, but I can felt that he's scared as his hands were trembling. We just stared at those two while they were talking to each other before the older one suddenly shot his gun towards us, only get repelled by Ace using a small stone. Those two looked surprised and scared about it, but a loud cheering from distance was heard and we turned, only to saw an ostrich with 2 figures on it ran toward us. The old man yelled things about Ace and he stopped while a familiar figure aka Luffy jumped off from the ostrich and walked away from those two. Then the old man started preparing things, along with the ostrich, before he started attacking Ace, which of course dodged by him and attacked the man back. The man was about to attack back, using his special weapon, or whatever, but only to being stopped by the kids, who were revealed as the man's children named Chip and Dip and the man himself revealed as Scorpion, aka the only characters in anime scenes. Then suddenly the rocks behind him rolled over and about to crush the 3, but Ace quickly saves them and approached them. He asked about the rumor is true, which of course replied by Scorpion that it's a lie, and Ace sighed softly, as the rumor about Blackbeard isn't true. That evening, Ace said we part here. Can't you stay with us a little bit longer?" Luffy asked as he whined about the fact his brother is going to leave again. "Well, I'd love to, but with that man roams around, I can't stand still," he replied with apologetic smile. "Are you really going to leave?" I asked and he smiled at me before pat my head gently. "Are you sad?" he asked teasingly and I pouted. "Of course, Baka," I replied, "what do you expect?" I asked back as I huffed and puffed my cheeks, which a little bit red because of embarrassment, and I heard him chuckled. "Well then, Luffy, Eri," he called and throws 2 folded papers to us. We caught it and Luffy opened it, which there's nothing written on it. "Always keep that with you," he said. "What, it's just a paper," Luffy said. "Well, that paper will let us meet again," he said. "Wow, don't want it?" Ace asked to Luffy. "No, I'll keep it," Luffy replied. "Oh, and Eri," he called and gave me another piece of paper with my name on the center, only this one is real big, maybe about a meter. "You know what these are, right?" he asked, pointing out the papers. I nodded, "Yep, they're Vivre card, or the paper of life," I replied, and he smiled. "Well, this one is yours," he said, pointing to the big-sized paper. "It's mine," I asked. "Yep." He grinned. "Don't you remember 2 years back at the letter that I asked you for your fingernails?" he asked, and I was thinking about it for a moment before nodding. Then he took out many papers and gave it to the Straw Hats, including Luffy, Takao, and Flame. Then he took the paper with my name on it from my hands and folded it before put it into his pocket. "Well then, take care of my brother and my girlfriend/beloved little sister for me," he said with a grin, and the Straw Hats smiled back at him before RO meowed loudly as he ran toward Ace, and Ace took him and put him on his shoulder. But then the Scorpion guy with his sons yelled at us, bidding a thank you and farewell, which of course taking almost all of us attentions and bid them a farewell as well. But my attention is still at Ace with solemn look. He chuckled as he grinned in defeat before pecked my lips, causing me to blush again. "You're still blushing every time I kiss you," he pointed out with a smile, and I pouted. "Shut up. This time, I'll kiss you for a good luck charm," I said, and yanked his scarf down, closing the gap between our faces, and I pecked his lips softly before looked away in embarrassment. "There, it's a good luck charm," I said as I blushed, and he looked at me with shocked look as he also blushed before hugging me tight. "You're just too cute to resist," he exclaimed as he hugged me tight before letting go and kissed me hard, which slightly surprising me, and I gasped in surprise. That eventually made him put in his tongue into my gaping mouth and licking inside my mouth. I moaned a bit as he used his tongue to lick my own tongue before the kiss is finally over, which earns both of us to pants heavily, and he grinned at me while I pouted. You know, Ace, you're such a pervert, I pointed out as I panted, slightly embarrassed by the fact we just French kissed. He grinned apologetically. Well, I'm a man, just so you know. He pointed out before kissed my forehead and bided a farewell as he walked away with a grin. I smiled back and waved at him, silently praying for his safety. I hope you're going to be alright. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is The Chronicle by Thief of Stealth. Chapter 40. Crocodile. I'm gonna kick your ass. Luffy suddenly yelled as he ran toward somewhere, and he somehow floating across the sand mountains as he ran just then. He's floating just then, Zoro said as we saw the hilarious scene. Yep, I confirmed. Crocodile. Luffy yelled again as he ran off somewhere, away from us. Wait, Luffy. I ran after him while Nami told Zoro to run after us and bring Chopper along, which he obligated to do it because Nami threatened him by raising his debt. Luffy, I called as he was far away and now punching empty air. That idiot, Zoro grumbled as he saw our dear captain doing weird things. Just what the hell is he doing again this time? He growled. He's eating a cactus earlier, I said inside as I brushed away the sweats from my face. Chopper, can you do something to him? Maybe tranquilize him or whatever. I'll try, he replied slowly, and I nodded before I turned to Luffy and Zoro, who somehow were fighting to each other, and I sweat dropped before fell on my knees to the hot sand below me, somehow starting to feel sleepy, and eventually fell asleep. After, I dunno, an hour or so, I woke up and saw that I was half buried on the sand, along with Chopper, that only his nose that visible. I quickly pulled myself out and dig Chopper up, and then I turned to where the two idiots are and saw that those two were passed out while their fists on their cheeks. Probably they passed out while to throw punches to each other. I sighed and woke Chopper up before we walked toward those two and woke Zoro up. So, what happened, Zoro? I asked as he woke up. He accused me as the damned crocodile. He replied as he huffed at Luffy before he pulled himself out from the sands and Luffy out too. Luffy, wake up, I said as I slapped him softly, which making him stirred and eventually woke up. What? Oh, it's just you, Eri, he said. Where are we, by the way? And why am I half buried? He asked. Because you got hallucinations and accused Zoro as crocodile, and you two started sparring until you two passed out. I answered as he pulled himself out from the sands. Really? I just face-palmed and sighed in defeat. Now, where's everyone? Chopper asked as he saw that there's no one around us, aka the desert is deserted. No pun intended. We've been left behind, I sighed and started to walk. Come on, we better go after them fast, I said. We walked, and walked, and walked, and kept walking while both Chopper and Zoro were talking to each other. Both Luffy and me were pulling ourselves up as we walked until Luffy saw a rocks fan in front of us. I saw a shade, Luffy exclaimed while both Chopper and Zoro were looking back and forth from the rocks far in front of us to Luffy right behind them as they paled slowly. Gomu Gomu no. Then Luffy retracted his arms to the rocks. Rocket. He yelled as he pulled back his arms toward the rocks, pulling us along that trapped between his legs, and we eventually crashed into the rocks, hard. While Luffy just laughed his ass off as he's in the shade. I'll cut you up, Zoro yelled, shark-teethed as he took out his katanas to Luffy. Haha, sorry, Luffy apologized as he laughed. Where's Chopper? He asked and looked around before spotted Chopper, away from the rocks. There he is, he pointed out. Why is he there? Is he trying to be funny? He asked while both Zoro and me put our blades right beside his neck, which pales him off. Yes, it's my fault. I'm terribly sorry about it, he quickly said, and we pulled away our blades while Zoro walked away and sat down on a stone while he muttered about something before he suddenly fell through the sand below him, along with the stone. Oi, I don't think I make any jokes about it, Luffy commented as he stared at the hole Zoro made with blank face. Do I look like I'm laughing to you? Zoro yelled from below as he fell down. Well, no, I don't think so, I replied with blank face before both Luffy and me looked at each other before we jumped into the hole as well, landed on the sand on my butt while Luffy on his feet. It's so dark in here, I pointed out as I was squinting my eyes to look around. Yeah, Zoro agreed, ignoring the idiot brother of mine that cheered that it's so cool in here. Wait, what about Chopper? Zoro asked in concern. Oh, don't worry about him, I answered with a grin. He's going to join us soon, both Luffy and me said in sync, which also continued with Chopper, who fell into the same place we're in now. See, we grinned at Zoro, who sweat dropped at it. Sometimes, your synchronizations are creepy, he commented and turned around, now my eyes already accustomed by the dark. Where are we now? He asked as he looked around. I looked around as well, looks like we're in some kind of dome or some sort, I said and walked around before stopped right in front of a huge cube with some kind of writings on it, and I widened my eyes. This is, I trailed off as I put a hand on the cube, feeling the scrapes of the writings of the cube. It's a poneglyph, I muttered and looked up, finally could see the whole cube, which actually a poneglyph. What's that? Zoro asked while Chopper joins us. It's a poneglyph, I answered and feeling the writings with my hands. Wonder what does it said, I muttered before turning to Chopper. Chopper, help me out, I said, and he nodded. He turned into Heavy Point and I climbed on his shoulders as I looked closer to the writings. As my eyes get really accustomed by the darkness, I can see the writing really well. This is not like usual poneglyph writings like usual. I thought as I saw closer. Wait, I think I've saw these kinds of writings, but where? Isn't it that weird writings from one of those symbols writings? I heard Yami-chan said. I guess, Yami-chan. I replied. I think you know some of them, right? The memories here probably have the same symbol as the one on that weird cube. She said. Maybe. I count on you, maybe. I count on you, Yami-chan. I said, and then in mere seconds, I can recognize the writings, or more likely symbols, on the cube. It's a hieroglyph, I stated loudly, which is taking almost everyone's attentions. I think I can read some of them, I said, and tried reading them. There are 3 kinds of people. The Guardian, commonly called as A, and there's the ones who's protected, commonly called as D, while the other are only normal people in the world. I read. The D is those which change the world with their actions. While it has only 2 main eternal missions throughout their lifetime, which is becoming the protector of the D that was been found in the journey of their lives, and helping them in their actions. I continued. While the rest of the people are just watching how the world changes slowly, even some of them also help the D. But after the D finished with their actions completely, the A will. I stopped as the symbol stops there, as it's completely half buried in the sands. Dang it, I cursed before taking out a small notebook and a pen from my bag. I started writing the meanings of the symbols on the poneglyph and closed the book before putting it back into my bag and sling my bag on my back. I huffed and stretched out. Come on, we gotta get out of here or we will completely lost in the desert. I said. Yeah, we better be out now. Zoro agreed and turned to Luffy. Oi Luffy, hurry up and get us out of here. He said. Why? It's cool down here, the rubber teen whined. We gotta go find the other or we won't be able to save Vivi's country. I said. No why, I wanna stay here Marie, he whined as he rolled around. Both Zoro and me punched him in the head and he quickly stood up and started saying that we got out here, with a steaming bumps on his head. Alright, Gomu Gomu no, pistol. He exclaimed as his arm retracted toward the hole that Zoro made earlier, but he missed and hit the other side. You missed, I stated. Gomu Gomu no, pistol. He yelled again as he retracted his arm. Then again, he missed. Grr, Gomu Gomu no, Gatling gun. Then he punched the top of the dome with several times until the hole is bigger, far bigger than the first one. Okay, the hole is bigger now. Luffy stated and stretched his arms above, probably clinging on the rocks at the top. Everyone, grab on me now, he exclaimed and we eventually clings on him in instinct before we flew to the sky, via Luffy's rocket. We landed on somewhere hard, but gratefully on soft sands. We groaned while Luffy laughed and said we should do it again, which of course, earning a hit on the head by Zoro. Chopper, can you smell Nami's perfume? Her perfume is really strong, so I think you can smell her, I hope. I said and he nodded and started sniffing. I smell Nami's perfume, he exclaimed. It's right to the west. Let's go, he exclaimed and we ran toward west. We kept running until we finally saw the others and we cheered to them. We ran towards them and we walked together to Yuba, which eventually quite near right now. The day changed into nighttime. The temperature is the exact opposite from daytime, stupid bipolar place. I was trembling and cold and sometimes sneezing as we kept walking. There, can you see the light? Vivi asked as she pointed at somewhere, which unfortunately unseen as the sands were blowing around us. Did we make it to Yuba? I asked. I can't tell, there's too much sand blowing around. Luffy exclaimed. Why is the earth rumbling? Sanji-san pointed out. Something's wrong with the town. Vivi pointed out and we finally see what is wrong. Yuba's being attacked by a sandstorm. XXX. After a while, the sandstorm is finally resides and we walked into the town. Damn, this place isn't any different from Arumalu. Zoro pointed out. Where's the water? Luffy exclaimed. Wasn't this supposed to be an oasis, Vivi-chan? Sanji-san asked as he looked around. The sand has raised the ground level, the oasis is being swallowed up. Vivi said in concern. Then we heard someone shoveling the sand in distance as he said, Travelers, You must be tired from your trip through the desert. I'm afraid this town is a little bit dried up. He continued as he kept shoveling and turned to look at us. But you can still rest, we have plenty of inns. That's what we're known for. He finished and started shoveling again. Excuse me, Vivi started, we heard that the rebellion was based here. The dried up Asen glanced and glared at us. What do you want with the rebellion? He asked slowly before throwing things to us. Don't tell me you want to join those filthy rebels. He yelled while we panicked about the incoming stuffs that thrown to us. Then the Asen turned back to his activity earlier and said, those fools are not here anymore. WHAAAAT. No way. Almost all of us yelled in shock at the information. That storm you just saw wasn't the first to attack the town. The drought has been drying us up for the past 3 years. The sandstorms have come more and more frequently. The sand has been steadily eating away at the oasis and now, it is as you see it today. The Asen said as he kept shoveling. Without circulation of goods, the rebellion cannot continue their war of endurance. They have moved their base of operations to Kateria. Ah, Vivi cried in shock. Where's that, Vivi? Is it close? Luffy asked. It's the oasis next to Nanohana. I said. Nanohana. Oi, what did we come here for then? The Straw Hats exclaimed. Vivi, did you just say, Vivi? The old man said. Oh oi Asen, Vivi's not a princess, okay. Luffy exclaimed and Zoro hit him in the head for that. Don't tell him, Zoro yelled. Are you Vivi-chan? Are you really? The Asen asked as he walked to Vivi. I'm so glad you're alive. It's me, don't you remember? I guess not. I've lost some weight after all. He said and then that clicked Vivi up. Toto-san, she asked in shock. That's right, the old man replied as he started in tears. No way, Vivi gasped as she covered her mouth with her hand. Listen to me, Vivi-chan. I believe in the king. He would never betray our country. The old man exclaimed as he's in tears, hands on Vivi's shoulders. Isn't that right? He asked. This rebellion is absurd. Please, I beg you. Stop those fools. He exclaimed as he bowed down to Vivi while the princess is still in shock about the fact. You're the only one who can do it. It's only been 3 years, who cares if it hasn't rained? I believe the king. The majority of the people still do. He exclaimed. We've stopped them, over and over, and over, and over again. But you can't tell them anything, the rebellion will not be stopped. Their power will soon overtake ours, he continued as he cried. They plan to end this with the next attack. They've caught up to us. They're prepared to die, he exclaimed and bowed down again to Vivi. Please Vivi-chan, stop those fools, before it's too late. He begged. Then Vivi crouched down as she offered him a handkerchief. Toto-san, she called and the old man looked up. She smiled at him and said, we can stop the rebellion. We all just stared at her as she said that while the old man thanked her for that. Then the old man escorted us to an inn for us to stay. Good work today, boys. Let's take a little rest to replenish our strength for tomorrow. Usopp said before lay down on one of the beds, good night. He bited, before Zoro throws a pillow to him, which hitting his head. You were sleeping the entire time. Zoro said. Of course I was, you jerk. I was exhausted, damn it. He yelled and throws the pillows back to Zoro, hitting him straight to his face. I'm not a monster like you guys. That's it. He both growled as shadows crept over his face and preparing the pillow to throw back to the long-nosed, who was throwing a pillow to Chopper. And you were the king of the exhausted, Hana. He yelled. I can't stand the heat. Chopper yelled back. Sanji-san, that's my bed, Vivi said slowly as I saw that Sanji-san in on Vivi's bed. Yeah, I figured you didn't want to sleep alone tonight, he said. And what the hell do you think you're doing? Usopp yelled, shark-teethed, as he throws a pillow to Sanji-san. Why you? Oi, which one of you jackasses that just threw that thing at me? Sanji-san yelled. Don't you guys understand the meaning of the work, sleep? You're going down, bastard. And then there's a pillow war in the place and one of the pillow hit Vivi straight in the face, who only could smiled an understatement at it. The war kept going until a pillow hit both of Nami's and my face, hard. Everyone stopped immediately as they stared at both of us with paled faces while the pillows landed to the bed slowly, revealing our faces that smiling sweetly before dark auras emerges out from us. Stop having a pillow war and go to sleep. We both yelled to the boys with shark teeth and dark auras around us, which making the boys quickly hopped on their bed and went to sleep. Boys, Nami huffed in annoyance while I just sighed and massaged my forehead, before the girls goes to sleep also but me. I huffed and smiled as the boys were snoring loudly and I decided to walk outside. I saw a big hole that dried up Asen dug out and peeked in, only to saw that Luffy was digging up a new hole, which unknowingly filling up the dried up Asen's hole. That's not what I mean. The sand from your hole is going into mine. That defeats the purpose of digging the hole in the first place. The Asen said. Luffy hummed with a blank face before he smiles and put a fist on his other palm. Oh, so it's a mystery hole. He said and back on digging his hole. That's not it. I giggled silently at that statement, making me remembers the time when Ace told him about the mystery things. Hey Ace, Eri, what is it, Luffy? Where do you think babies came from? Luffy, where did you learn that word? I saw it in Eri's books. So where does babies come from? It's where both woman and man having sex, Luffy. Oi, Eri, too blunt. Seeks. It's sex, Luffy. Eri, stop it. What's that? It's a mystery thing, Luffy. Mystery thing, really? Yeah, okay, listen to me Luffy. Everything that difficult in your brains, then it's a mystery, do you get it? Oh, okay, you just taught him about a thing that makes it more difficult, Ace. It's better than you. Stop being so open and blunt. And that goes on, I thought as I sweat dropped at the memories and turned my attention back to the two. Now that I just realized that the sand rains has stopped and I jumped down next to Luffy's hole and peeked in, along with Toto Asen. Oh, it's you, he said. Why aren't you sleeping? You must be tired from the journey, right? He asked as he smiled. Nah, I'm worried about my brother. I replied and smiled as I saw him sleeping at the bottom of his hole, along with Toto Awesome that laughed a little at Luffy's childish act. I jumped into the hole and carried Luffy up like a potato sack before jumped out from the hole that right next to Toto Awesome. He's your brother? He asked and I put Luffy down to the sands as I nodded. You two doesn't look similar. He said. We're not blood siblings. I replied and smiled at him. He's 2 years older than me, but he's far childish than me. I said and grinned while he laughed softly at my statement and I detect the water is near in Luffy's hole with my hockey. By the way, Luffy almost reached the water level. I said and jumped into Luffy's hole once more and started digging up fast until my hands felt that the sands are wet and I dug faster. After a while, I finally reached the water level and I grinned at the sight. Oi Asen, I reached the water level. I announced. Really? He exclaimed and I showed him the water in my palms with a grin, and I saw him smile. Isn't it great, Toto Asen? I asked with a grin and he smiled back before turning to Luffy and smiled at him. XXX. Stop joking AROOOOUUUND. How long is he going to make us wait? Mr. 2 exclaimed as he twirled around in place. At least bring out some takopa. I'm spinning like a beautiful swan. He continued. Please be quiet, Mr. 2. Miss Double Finger said. Seriously Yuta, yours Houghton kills my hip. Miss Merry Christmas exclaimed as she pounded her hand on the table while her partner laughing slowly. You too, Miss Merry Christmas. Miss Double Finger said. Ha ha ha, looks like you all can't get along. Said a woman that came into the room, along with grayish blue hair boy on her side with childish smile. Not that it really matters, she continued. Yeah, but you guys are so noisy. Said the boy with a grin and laughed childishly. Miss All Sunday. Most of the agents said before their eyes landed on the boy, and who's the brat? They asked. Oh, Sunday-chan. 05-chan. How are you? The Okama asked as he's spinning around in place. I said YouTube, Yada. I'm perfectly fine, Okama-chan. The boy, who is revealed as Mr. 05, replied enthusiastically as he raised up his arm before putting it back down, still with wide grin. You're that Mr. 05? Miss Double Finger asked and smiled a bit. I never thought that you're this young and this cute. She said. Shut up. I'm not cute. I'm badass. The boy replied enthusiastically. Thank you for enduring the long journey to come here. Miss All Sunday said, welcoming the agents. Having all of us together will ensure our victory. She continued. Where is this, Miss All Sunday? Mr. 1 asked. Oh yeah, Ban Chin took you guys in the back door. Mr. 05 said. But you're probably familiar with the town, where people dream of getting rich quick by gambling. Miss All Sunday said. The Dream Town, Rainbase. She continued. And the building you are in right now is the towers above the oasis in the middle of Rainbase. Mr. 05 continued, replacing Miss All Sunday. The greatest casino in town, Rain Dinners. He exclaimed. If there are no questions, we'll continue. Miss All Sunday said to the agents. Yeah, let's go. Start. Now, start. Miss Merry Christmas replied, still pounding the table. But before that, I must introduce the boss you haven't seen yet. The elegant woman said. Until now, I have acted as his private face in giving you orders. But there is no more need to do so, understand? She asked. It's about time, a man voice suddenly heard at the chair at the end of the table, which surprising the agents up, before the person twirled his chair to face the agents, revealing the boss of the Baroque works as one of the infamous Shichibukai, crocodile. Plan. Utopia. The man said as he turned to look at his agents, along with a teen girl with green hair and antennae in a form of hair on top of her hair and dead green eyes that sat down on one of the armrests of the chair. That is the final plan of the Baroque works. He finished with his usual smirk. See crocodile. The agents exclaimed in shock. I thought you would recognize his public face. Miss All Sunday said in amusement. Well damn, this is unbelievable. Miss Merry Christmas said slowly. I would never have guessed, why one of the Shichibukai. Miss Double Finger exclaimed in surprise. You mean we've been working for a pirate? Mr. 2 exclaimed. You are our boss. Mr. 1, surprisingly, already over from his surprise, asked. Any complaints? Crocodile asked darkly and the girl's arms that beside him turns into size like, which making the agents immediately shuts up. No complaints, just a question. Miss Double Finger started. But why would a pirate that work with the world government do this? She asked. What I want is not money or land. He answered. It's military force. He continued. Military force. Let's talk about this in order. First is my objective, then the details of the Baroque works' final plan. Crocodile continued as the girl jumped off from the armrest and stood up straight beside him while he lighted on his cigar before saying his objective to his agents. You mean we can do that here? The Okama asked. We'll take over the entire country. I'm getting excited. So our last duties are to carry out the different facets of this final plan. Mr. 1 asked. That is correct. Crocodile confirmed. All the jobs you have done since the founding of Baroque works have been for this plan. And those are the last orders I will entrust you with. He continued, referring to the papers right in front of the agents that took the papers. The time to get rid of the kingdom of Alabasta has come, Crocodile smirked as the agents reads their missions on the papers before they burns them using the lightened up candles. When you have all completed those orders, the kingdom of Alabasta will be destroyed. The cornered rebels and civilians will tragically fall right into Baroque works' hands. Crocodile said with a smirk, in just one night, this country will become our utopia. This is Baroque works' great, final plan, utopia. Failure will not be tolerated, or you'll be deleted by these two. He said as he pointed at the Mr. Zero, 5 pairs beside him. The operation will begin tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Meeting adjourned. He continued and smirked evilly. Pray for victory. XXX. I am sorry for acting so disgracefully, Vivi-chan, Todo-san said to Vivi. No, don't worry, we're going now, Todo-san. Vivi said. Yes. Todo-san replied before turning to Luffy with a small barrel in his hands. Luffy-kun, please take this, he said and gave him the small barrel. Wow, water. Luffy exclaimed in happiness. Water. Usopp joined in. You got some? Luffy asked. Right after you fell asleep digging last night, we made it to the water level. I told him with a smile. I managed to squeeze out the water and distill it. Todo-san said. Wow, sound difficult. Thanks, I'll drink it carefully. Luffy said as he trembled, holding the small barrel carefully. Genuine Yuba water, I'm sorry that's all I can give you, Todo-san said with a smile. We bited him off and walked away from Yuba, while both Luffy and Usopp were fighting over the water before I punched both of them in the heads and confiscated the water by clings it around my neck, much to the teen boys' dismays. We kept walking for a few minutes before Luffy suddenly sat down under a dried-up tree with a frown, much everyone's shock, except me, Takao, Flame and Zoro. What's wrong Luffy-san? Vivi asked. There was a silence before Luffy replied, I quit. Chapter 41. You, quit. What do you mean, Luffy-san? Vivi asked. We don't have time for your stupid games now, Luffy. Sanji-san exclaimed, now get up. We're going back. Luffy said simply but didn't move slightly from his spot. Yeah, we're using the road we took yesterday, to go to Cateria and stop the rebellion. If 1 million citizens of this country clash, it's all over. Sanji-san replied, this is for Vivi-chan. Let's go. He continued. Boring. Luffy said. What did you say? He yelled. Vivi. Luffy called. Yes. Vivi replied. I want to beat the crap out of Crocodile. Luffy stated and Vivi flinched at that. If we stop the rebels, will we stop that Crocodile? He continued. We can't do anything, even if we go to this place. Luffy said, we're pirates. You'd be better off without us. Sometimes he hits the bullseye without even thinking. Sanji-san commented. That's Luffy for you. Usopp replied. Well, Vivi started but quickly cut off by Luffy. You just don't want anyone to die in this war. The people of your country, or us, or anyone. He stated, you're talking about a fight against one of the Shichibukai, in which over 1 million people will be in battle, and all you want is for no one to die. He continued before looking at Vivi straight in the eyes. That's naive, he stated. Stop Luffy. Can't you think of Vivi's feelings? I quickly cut Nami off by raising my arm to stop her. Don't interfere and watch. I told her simply and she protested but listened. What's wrong with that? Vivi exclaimed. What's wrong about not wanting people to die? People die. Luffy continued simply and Vivi lunged at him before punched him hard. Stop talking like that. Don't you dare say that again. That's what we're trying to stop. She yelled. You can't blame the rebels of the army for this. Why should anyone die? This is all Crocodile's fault. She continued as Luffy pushed himself up before punched her back. Then why are you risking your life? He exclaimed as he punched her back and everyone is about to protest but I quickly stopped them. Even I can tell what this country needs the most just by looking at the situation. Luffy exclaimed as Vivi kept slapping him hard while he talks. You think risking one life is enough? He yelled. Then what am I supposed to risk? She yelled back as she kept slapping him. There's nothing else oh have to. Her words was cut off as Luffy grabbed her wrists and sat up. Why don't you try risking our lives, too? Luffy yelled at her. We are nakamas, right? He continued and that immediately made Vivi covered her mouth as her eyes started to tear up. Kama. Look at you. Luffy said as Vivi cried. You're crying. He continued and Vivi pulled her hood to cover the sights from anyone. You're the one who wants to kill him the most. He stated as he grabbed his hat and dusted off the dusts. I walked to Vivi and hugged her tight as I pat her head while she cried and Nami joined in. Now tell me, Luffy started, tell me where Crocodile is. XXX. This is the oasis called Rainbase, which is where Crocodile is. Vivi explained as she pointed at the map, straight to the north of Yuba. It will take a whole day to walk through the desert. She continued. Will there be water there? Chopper asked. Yes, it will be safe. It's a gambling town, separate from all the fighting. Vivi told him. Ooh, gambling. Nami exclaimed as her eyes changed into Bailey's. Oh no, what are you thinking? Zoro asked as he sweat dropped at the sight. I guess there are towns like that even in Alabasta. Sanji-san commented. I said no. I yelled as I kicked Usopp away. Huh, are they still at it? Come on, Eri, all you have to do is give me one sip, he gave us that water to use. Usopp said as he comical cried. Nope, I exclaimed and kicked him away again. Gimme, nope, gimme, nope, gimme, no way. This time Luffy joins in and grabbed the small barrel. That dried up Asen gave us this water after digging all night long. He exclaimed. We can't just drink it right away, you baka. We exclaimed in sync and Luffy clings it around his neck immediately. So you really can restrain yourself when you need to? Name commented in amazement. Of course I can. How rude. Luffy replied as we walked toward north, or so Vivi said. Alright already, let's just go. Zoro replied as he walked toward the opposite. North is this way, baka. Nami said to him as we walked forward, while I tried my best to stop myself from snickering but failed miserably, which was earning a whack in the head by the Marimo. After hours of walking and the sun is getting higher, I already passed out of heatstroke as Takao carried me on his back while the other two 17-year-olds were moaning because of the heat. I thought I told you to stop doing that. Nami exclaimed. Shut up, you're riding on the camel. Usopp replied. Yeah, let us ride too. Luffy joined in. Camel woman, Nami camel. Both of them said in sync. Shut up, Nami yelled. You aren't all wiped out today, Chopper. Zoro praised. Nope, I'm sticking out today. Chopper replied and Sanji-san grinned at that. Luffy-san. Vivi called and he turned to look at her. Thank you. She said. I never could have made that decision without you. She continued. Rui. Luffy asked, then feed me. What? Once I whoop Crocodile, you gotta feed me until I explode. Luffy continued. Vivi just smiled at that and replied, okay. I promise. And don't forget the sweets. I joined in as I brought up my head to look at her and she giggled before nodded. XXX. I see it. That's Rainbase. I exclaimed in happiness. We finally made it. Yees SS. Crocodile, alligator, your ass is grass. Both Luffy and me exclaimed as we cried comically. In WADUUUUUUUHHHHHH water. Usopp, Chopper and me exclaimed. Shut up already. Zoro deadpanned. Now, Nami-san, Vivi-chan, you don't need to fight, I'll protect you instead. Sanji-san said with sparkling around him and the smoke of his cigar changed into stars, just call me, Prince. Ha ha ha, he continued. Prince. Both Zoro and Takao said with blank faces as they're side by side. Shut the hell up, damn it. Hey, do you think the Baroque Works knows we're here in this country? Zoro asked. Probably, Vivi replied. We met Mr. 2, and we know Mr. 3 is here, so I think we should assume they know we're here. So what? Luffy asked simply. They know our faces, so no more random actions. Usopp said. How come? Luffy asked. We have no idea where the Baroque Works fighters could be hiding. Usopp explained. There's no way we can get to Crocodile if we're caught first. Assassination is their specialty. I said. Okay. Crocodile, your ass is grass. Luffy exclaimed, totally doesn't understand while Usopp slapped his back head in frustration. But Usopp-san, Vivi started, I agree with Luffy-san. Everything is about to happen now. We don't have time to think. She said. I smiled at this and take a deep breath before me battle cried as I ran toward Rainbase with full speed, which shocking most of the straw hats while Takao and Flame just sighed before Takao flew after me. I kept running as I felt both Luffy and Usopp ran along with me and we finally arrived to the town. We quickly ran into a cafe and yelled. We can drink water now, Minna. I yelled. Water. Both exclaimed before we ran towards the counter and pounding our hands to the counter. Give us water, lady. Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync. Barrels. 7 barrels of water. Usopp continued. An old lady came with barrels in her hands as she gave them to us. We quickly drank it all before we felt other familiar presences beside us and we turned, only to face with Smokey and Tashigi. We stared for a moment with mouthful of waters before blurted out all of them toward those two before we grabbed the remaining barrels for our nakamas and ran away from there, yelling loudly. Why are the Marines here? Luffy exclaimed in shock as we ran away. How should I know? Let's get the hell out of here. Usopp yelled back. Smokey's, Luffy's radar, is creepy as hell. I exclaimed as we ran fast and we finally saw the others before we ran towards them, with Marines hot on our trail. Hey guys, the Marines are coming, we exclaimed in sync as we ran while the others ran away also. You brought them over here. They yelled back. These aren't good. Running around like this will help the Baroque Works spot us. Sanji-san exclaimed as we kept ran and I felt several presences around us that looking at us. I think it's too late. I pointed out. Let's go then. Luffy said, to where Crocodile is, Vivi. Okay. She replied and pointed at a building with a crocodile on top, over there. Can you see the building with the crocodile on top? That's the casino that Crocodile owns, Rain Dinners. She pointed out. We should scatter. Sanji-san said. Yeah. Zoro said. Okay. I said. We'll meet back up at the Croc's house. Luffy exclaimed as we scattered away. They spilled up. Don't let them get away. Both Luffy and me jumped away a building in front of us and Luffy stuck out a tongue at Smokey that is right behind us with the rest of the Marines. Come and get us, Smokey. we exclaimed in mock tone in sync as we stuck out our tongue at him before we continued to run away. Don't think you can run away forever, he exclaimed as he turned into smokes to go after us, white bind. He was about to trap us with his body, but I quickly took out my staff and pierced him away from us using my staff. Then we landed on the ground and ran away again, but it seems Smokey is still persistent of capturing us, so I decided to throw the barrel of water at him, which slows him down a bit, and we continued to run toward rain dinners while Smokey kept going after us. Ah! We yelled as we ran forward and spotted some of us plus Flame in front of us. Luffy, Airy, wait, damn you, we heard Smokey exclaimed. Smokey is chasing us, we exclaimed. Let's go everybody. Luffy exclaimed first, run inside. Run, I continued as I yelled, and we ran toward rain dinners, with Smokey hot in our trail. Just you wait, crocodile, alligator, we exclaimed and ran inside. Crocodile, get her ass out here, Luffy yelled as we're finally in. Yeah, you stupid alligator, how dare you make our Nakama cry, I yelled, which kind of taking some of the gambles, attentions to us, but turned back to their business while both Nami and Usopp hit him on the back of his head as they scolds him. It's crocodile, Airy, I heard Zoro deadpanned. It's the same, I replied stubbornly. I actually wondered why Ace would want to be with you. He commented. What? How rude, I yelled at him. Vivi, crocodile. This time Nami, Usopp and Luffy yelled out loud. Oi, we deadpanned. I've got you now, Straw Hat, Demon Fox, I heard a familiar person exclaimed, and we turned, only to see Smokey running in. This place is on a lake. You can't get away, he continued, and we cursed before all of us ran forward. It's Smokey, we exclaimed as we ran away before both Luffy and me felt we ran into things, but we shrugged it off as we kept running. Hey, look at that, Usopp pointed out, and we saw some staffs were welcoming us towards somewhere, and I heard it's a VIP room. Is he saying, bring it on? Nami asked. A clever guy, Zoro said. Come on, let's go, let's just go. Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync while Flame just woofed as we went into the VIP room. This is leading us straight to our deaths, Usopp exclaimed. What's VIP, by the way? Luffy asked in the wrong time. It means it's reserved only for someone that already ordered the room. I explained it to him, also at the wrong time. And then we saw a sign that points to the opposite direction. The first one is toward the VIP room, while the other is for pirates. That, of course, making Luffy to turn to the pirate section, and it eventually a trap, and in the end, we end up in a cage, along with Smokey. Well, I started as I put it a candy into my mouth, isn't it wonderful? I asked in sarcasm. A fiendishly clever trap, Luffy commented. Indeed it was, Usopp agreed. That's exactly what he wanted us to do. How could you be so stupid? Nami yelled. And besides, I can't feel any power, Luffy whined slowly as he touched the bars, and I pulled away high hands. It's Kairoseki, Luffy. Touch them, you'll feel weak, I explained. It's the same one as my staff and Smokey's jeet, I added before I warded Smokey's jeet with my staff I took out in a mere seconds. Attacking a lady from the back, Smokey, I asked teasingly. That's a coward way to attack, you know, I added. Pirates are pirates, he replied, and I pushed off his weapon as he glared at me and Luffy before I stood up in front of Luffy, blocking Luffy away from Smokey's view. No one touch my brother, I threatened as my eyes changed color to blood red and glared him as I growled. Besides, I can just fight you sooner or later if you want, and if I use my full power, I can beat you, I stated and pointed my staff at him. I can grab you, I stated as I brought up my arms and infused my haki from my arms to my staff, turning them into black color. I can also kill you, I continued, and Flame growled at Smokey loudly while the two cowards yelled in fear. Yeah, no, wait, how can you fight while we're in this predicament? Usopp yelled. He's right, cut it out, we heard someone said, and we turned to the source of the gruff voice, which belongs to our target. Crocodile. Or alligator. You'll kill each other. Why can't you all just be friends? He asked. Crocodile. Smokey growled. Ooh, you really are a stray hound, Smoker-kun. Crocodile said with that smug grin of his. You never thought of me as your ally from the start. Oh, that's right, Crocodile picked up. I was going to have you die in an accident. I reported that you've been fighting the Straw Hat several times. Ha ha ha, he continued. I don't know why you came here, but it was obviously of your own accord. The governments believe me. They wouldn't send any Marines here normally. He added. So that's one of the Shichibukai, Zoro pointed out while the two cowards screaming in silent. So you are Crocodile, huh? Luffy said slowly as he got up before lunged back to the cage. Hey. You. Fi me, he said slowly as he touched the cage. Don't touch the cage, Usopp yelled at him. Stupid alligator, I yelled at him. How dare you show your ugly mug to me? You did well to come this far, Straw Hat, and Demon Fox, I never thought I'd actually meet you. He said, don't worry, I'll be killing you very soon. He continued, but the guest of honor isn't here yet. I've just sent my partner to go pick her up, he said as he smirked, and I quickly put down my bag as I rummaged through it before taking out a scissor and throws it passing the cage by the holes toward Crocodile fast, which got him right in the head, but unfortunately only passed through him and I cursed. Stupid Logias and their abilities. I cursed before throws another one to Smokey, which of course passed through him and it annoyed him a bit. You sure got enough guts to try to attack me, I heard Crocodile said as he turned to me as his head slowly reshaped back from before, which become Sans earlier before walked away. Shut up you stupid alligator. I yelled with shark teeth, stop being a coward and fight me, damn it. I continued as I fumed cause I can't touch him a lightness bit. I got many scissors and cutters here to throw at you. Why stationaries? Zoro asked. They're easier to bring into throws at. I replied simply and he sweat dropped at that. But then again, for who knows how long the times passed away, we got bored and we did some things that unusual and hilarious. Luffy parted his hair into the same style as Sanji Sans and posed as him, Sanji impression. He said before he put a connected fingers, like he's smoking, and said, hey, did you eat all the meat? Usopp, Flame, and me laughed hard at the sight and I took a picture of it. My turn. I cheered and started putting in 2 rolled papers between my lips before making my face like Smokey's expression. I will catch you, Straw Hat, Demon Fox. I started with muffled voice as the rolled papers in my lips and started posing before one of them fell off before I couldn't take hold of 2 of them and there's an awkward silence before the 4 of us laughed hard again. Would you take this? Check this one out. Usopp said this time, Oni. But then our happy time is interrupted by Nami as she punched our heads hard and earning a big bumps in the head. Seriously. She continued while we moaned and hurt. What the hell Nami? That hurt you moron. I yelled at her as I sat up. Yeah, we can't get out. It's not like we have anything better to do. Luffy agreed as he yelled at her too. It's serious because we can't get out. We might be killed like this. She yelled back at us before turning to Zoro, who was sleeping, and punched him in the head. And why are you sleeping? She yelled. What, is it morning already? He asked simply with a bump in his head. It's been morning already. She yelled, shark-teethed. You're quite a feisty young girl, a comment from Crocodile was heard, who was sitting peacefully with feasts in front of him. What, you'd better take this time to compose yourself. Nami replied, once these guys get out of this cage, they'll knock your worthless ass. I interrupted her with loud voice. High above the clouds. Isn't that right, Luffy? She continued. Yeah, get ready you bastard. Luffy yelled before I sat down beside Smokey and started putting back in the sharp stationaries, scissors, cutters, pins, etc. into my bag, unconsciously showing my mask from years ago as I organized the things back into my bag, making Smokey, who saw it, widened his eyes. You, I heard he started and I turned to him with questioned look. What? I asked. Are you that infamous, bloodied mask? He asked carefully and I quite taken aback by that question before smirking. And what if I am? I asked, challenging him before taking out of the mask before putting it on, which earning a fierce look from him before I took it off and smirked at him. Now, don't give me that look, Smokey, I said and put it back into my bag before zipped it back. I stopped killing people after Luffy told me to not do it again. I continued and sling my bag on my back before walked beside Luffy and Nami. How dare he make fun of us? Nami growled in anger while Usopp tried his best to calm her down. Crocodile. We turned toward the source of the voice and we saw a very familiar person at the top of the stairs. Vivi. We called and we saw Vivi was panting hard and 2 people are right behind her. The first one is Miss All Sunday, of course, the second one is, however, unfamiliar to most of the Straw Hats but me. Hey, you're the one that attacked me. I said loudly as the person turned her dead eyes to look into me. So you've survived, she stated softly, that's too bad. She continued and turned away and walked away from the room, which making me cursed softly. Well hello, welcome, Vivi, Princess of Alabasta. Crocodile said mockingly as he spread his arms. No, Miss Wednesday. He quickly changed. You have done an admirable job of avoiding my assassins on the way here, he continued. Of course I'd come. Vivi replied darkly, I'd come from anywhere as long as it means I can watch you die. She continued, Mr. Zero. It's your worthless country that's going to die, Miss Wednesday. He replied darkly with smug grin, which making Vivi flinched at that and all tensed up. That pissed me off and I threw another scissor toward his head, which unfortunately still passed through him and I cursed loudly. Stupid Logias. I growled and he slowly turned to me as he glared at me and I glared back before stuck out my tongue and Nami punched me upside head. That hurt you stupid witch. I yelled at her as a steaming bump on my head. Stop making him mad you idiot. She yelled. I'm no idiot. I yelled back. Yes you are. She replied before gave me another bump. If you weren't here, Alabasta would be in peace. We heard Vivi exclaimed as she lunged toward Crocodile with her weapon while Crocodile is calmly put in a cigar between HIW lips as she get closer to him. Peacock string slasher, she exclaimed as she attacked Crocodile, which cutting off his head along with the backrest of the chair he sat down before he turned completely into Sans. He's Logia, so not a good thing to do. I said as I saw the scene while almost everyone is startled by the sight. Are you satisfied, Miss Wednesday? Crocodile said slowly as he reshaped back into human and grabbed Vivi from behind. If you live in this country, then you should know about my suna no mi power, he continued. Shall I turn you into a mummy? He asked darkly, and the others were yelling at that while I grabbed a cutter before infusing them using haki and threw it toward Crocodile, which cutting his hand a bit, and I glared hard at him while he glanced at me with dark look. You won't dare, I growled darkly as my eyes turned into blood red with slits. He then threw Vivi to a chair as he walked away. Sit, and stop glaring at me, he said while Miss All Sunday walked down the stairs. It's just about time for the party to begin. Am I wrong, Miss All Sunday? He asked. You are correct, Miss All Sunday replied as she checked a pocket watch. It's past 7. She stated. XXX. I was looking down as shadows crept over my eyes and I frowned deeply while everyone else looked slightly surprised and in disbelief at the said plan Crocodile told us about, and he laughed so loud, which full of confidence and evil. What do you think, Miss Wednesday? The plan that you helped set up is blooming. If you listen carefully, I bet you could hear the shouting all over Alabasta. He said, and what do you suppose all of them believe? That we will protect them. He continued. Protect Alabasta. Protect Alabasta. He chanted in mocking tone, and Vivi finally snapped. Stop it. How can you be so awful? She yelled in desperate while I gritted my teeth in anger as Crocodile laughed at that. Isn't that a tearjerker? Love for one's country is what will destroy it in the end. He said. I think this guy fits the definition of depraved to the letter. Zoro commented as he glared at Crocodile. That bastard. If only this cage weren't here. Luffy growled in anger as he rolled up his sleeves. I can remember all the hassle I had to go through to get this far. Collecting up members, scraping up money to buy the silver necessary to produce the dance powder, stirring up towns on the brink of destruction, teaching my employees how to carry out false acts of army corruption, slowly eroding the people's trust in their king and increasing their frustration. He exclaimed. Do you know why I want to control your country so badly, Miss Wednesday? He asked as he turned to Vivi. How could you understand what's in your rotted head? Vivi spat back. A foul-mouthed princess. Crocodile commented before Vivi made herself fell to the ground and started to crawl away. Whoa there, what do you think you're doing, Miss Wednesday? He asked. We can stop you, Vivi exclaimed. We can still make it in time. If we just go to Alubarna, directly east of here. If we can get to Alubarna before the rebellion does. There's a chance that we could stop them. She continued. Ooh, isn't that odd? We were just going to go there, as well, he said, straight to Alubarna. To ask your daddy one little question. What? Now what are you going to do to my father? Vivi yelled. Which is more important to you, the people or your father, Miss Wednesday? He asked before taking out a key. If you want to come with us, then go right ahead. He continued. Is that a key? Vivi exclaimed as she saw the key while I grabbed my bag and started rummaging through it before taking out a lock picker while everyone else is yelling in frustration and such. Good thing I always bring this. I muttered inside before turning back to everyone else, who was watching Vivi and listening to Crocodile and such. I don't care anymore. Whoa, look at that. There's a crocodile growing out of that banana. Luffy exclaimed, and I quickly walked up next to him to see the real thing from the window afar. Wow, they're huge. I commented while I smiled sweetly but creepily. I think beating them up for revenge to that alligator is a great idea. I added and giggled creepily, which making Usopp cowered in fear. Weird bananas. Luffy stated. Look at them, you dumbass. The bananas are growing out of the crocodiles. Zoro told him, they're weird crocodiles. He finished. We turned and saw Vivi is looking down with terrified look. What wrong, Vivi? The Straw Hats asked. One of the Bananawani * just swallowed the key. She replied, and I closed my eyes to detect the Wani up that ate the key and nodded as I knew it. Everyone is in their panic states at the news and started talking things to each other while Crocodile is talking things before saying that he and his partner are going to leave. Also, this room will automatically destroy itself in 1 hour. Crocodile said, I have no use for this Baroque Works secret base anymore. Water will flood into this room and turn it into part of the Rainbase Lake. He continued as the enormous doors were opened. 1 million innocent civilians, or your worthless pirates with no future ahead of them. Your chances of saving just one of the two is slim. He stated, bet, here os your feelings, Miss Wednesday. He continued before laughing mockingly. Even a princess is powerless in these circumstances. It was too easy to do my work here. There are so many idiots, he trailed off, especially those young rebels and a certain old hole-digging man. He said, and they started talking about dried up Osen, and he's giving a hint about the sandstorms that always attacked Yuba. You did that. Luffy growled in anger, and Crocodile laughed out loud as he and Miss All Sunday walked toward the road behind the doors before the floors were somehow started to open up and water started to fill up the room. This time, I walked toward the door of the cage and started my best to pick it as I tried my best to not taking any attentions, which fortunately the Straw Hats are busy panicking about it and looking at Vivi, who tried to get up and attack Crocodile but stopped as she fell on her knees. My face darkened as I saw the sight and focusing back on lock picking, which unfortunately kept failing. Vivi, Luffy called loudly, do something. Get us out of here. He continued before he breathed heavily in anger. Luffy-san, Vivi muttered. Luffy. Usopp called. Kuhahaha. Are you begging for your life already, Straw Hat Luffy? Crocodile laughed. I guess everyone is afraid of dying. If we die here, then who's going to stop him? Luffy yelled. There is silence until Crocodile cuts it off. Don't get too conceited, little man. Crocodile said darkly. No, that's you. I started as I stood up as I glared at him. You're the little one. Luffy continued darkly as he glared at him also while the two cowards were stared in shock and fear at that. Then I focused back to my lock picking while I felt a banana wani is coming into the place as Crocodile is talking things and the wani came into the room, which making Vivi who stared at it trembled in fear. Beat it up, Vivi. Luffy exclaimed. Don't be ridiculous. It's too big. Usopp yelled at him. Run away Vivi. You can't fight it. Usopp yelled. But save us too. He continued. You're the one being ridiculous. Nami yelled at him. Hey, look out the window. Luffy pointed out. They're all lining up. Waiting their turn for food. I commented as I still tried at picking the lock of the door, which kinda hard as I can't see it. So you want to fight, fine. Kill all of them, and the key will be in one of their stomachs. I heard Crocodile said and the wani in the room growled loudly while Vivi readied her weapon to attack. I stopped watching the scene where Vivi is fighting over the crocodile that move fast and have powerful jaws. Then I heard a faint sound of Den Den Mushi and the ruckus from outside the cage suddenly stopped. Apparently, the one who called is someone called Mr. Prince, aka Sanji-san. They're talking things as I kept focusing on my work right now and apparently, Mr. Prince, is making Crocodile angry and the others were yelling to Mr. Prince, to save us. Mr. Prince, is still talking things until he's suddenly cut off by some attacks, before the phone is answered by someone else. Where are you? Spit it out, Crocodile growled. Yes, sir, at the front gate of the casino called Rain Dinners, in Rainbase. Everyone is panicking about it while Crocodile laughed out loud. I just rolled my eyes at that and finally, the lock of the door unlocked but I kept it still and didn't tell anyone yet about it, cause now's not the time. Then Vivi tried to run toward the top of the stairs and unfortunately, it was seen by the crocodile and it lunged to the princess and making most of us called Vivi out. But apparently she wants to call for help but Crocodile tried to stop her by pulling her back down and making her fell unconscious as her head is bleeding. If you love your friends so much, then you can die here with them. Crocodile said as he used the stairs along with his partner. The water's already filled the crocodile feeding room and is now going to flood this room. I think I'll bring that punk, Mr. Prince, here too, he continued before grinned evilly, as a corpse that is. Ha 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 ha. He laughed and walked away from the room, which making Luffy all mad and yelled out in anger. Then I opened the cage door and walked out from the cage, which surprising the Straw Hats about it. I walked up to the wani as my fists changed color into black before the croc turned to look at me before it lunged at me. I gritted my teeth as shadows crept over my eyes before I readied my fists and battle cried as I punched the croc away from me toward the wall, hard, and making it unconscious, which unfortunately making the water went in rapidly from the cracks of the walls. How do you like that, stupid banana? I grinned evilly as dark auras spread out from me, which making the areas chilled up so suddenly. Hey, the door is open, Luffy exclaimed in shock. How did you do that, Eri? He asked. I picked it. I replied simply and almost everyone comically fell at that. You picked it. Everyone yelled in disbelief at me. Yep, I replied and cracked up my fingers as I saw more crocs are coming into the room and I glared at them, eyes changed color into blood red with slits and I grinned evilly. Well then, I started and looked up to see the crocs. Who's next? I asked and all of them lunged toward me at once. A few moments later, I stood up on a piled up unconscious bananawanis while Luffy looked so mad as I wiped them all out by myself. That's not fair Eri. I want to beat them up too. He exclaimed childishly. Too late. I huffed as I still fuming about Crocodile while everyone else has looked so shocked about me able to wipe out all the bananawanis by myself. Is she always this strong? Usopp asked softly. She really is in the same level as Luffy's, or maybe more. Nami said softly. Now, I started, shall we move on? I asked and that's the time, Mr. Prince, came. Oh, did I miss some things? He asked as he looked around. You're late. I stated and jumped off from the tower of the Wandis as he apologized to me with flirty eyes. I'm taken already by Ace, Sanji-san, if you forgot about it. I exclaimed and he immediately all depressed about it. Then another bananawani came and about to lunge toward me, only quickly being attacked by Luffy using his punch, hard. That apparently making the croc to spits out a white big ball and after it landed on the filled up with water floor before it cracked up like a egg, revealing there's someone inside the thing, who's Mr. 3. He's all wrinkly and dried up, maybe because of Crocodile, before he drank the river's water and he turned back into normal. Then he saw us and started screaming in fear before talking things. But the Luffy punched him upside head and Sanji-san did something to him. Suddenly the water level is increased and actually drowns us along. I was about to swim along with the others until I remember about Smokey and swam back into the cage, where he is now, who was already unconscious. I grabbed him and swam away from the place along with everyone else to the surface and gasped in an air as I pulled Smokey also. I coughed up before I pulled myself away from the water, along with everyone else. I panted as I tried to catch my breath before I felt Smokey is about to attack me and I quickly dodged away from his reach. "Why?" I heard him said, "Why did you save me?" He yelled at me. I just stared at him before grinned at him, because Luffy and Ace won't forgive me if I kill someone again. I said simply and he looked a little taken aback by that. Besides, I glanced at Luffy, who tried to catch his breath before turning back to Smokey. "You're a good guy, right?" I asked with a smile. "I won't let a guy like you to stop chasing us wherever we go," I stated and walked toward everyone else. "There they are. Crap, Marines," I pointed out and everyone else is starting to panic. "Go," he said, "I owe you my life, so I let you go for now." He continued and we all a little taken aback by that. "But the next time we meet, you're dead bunch, remember that, Straw Hat Luffy, Demon Fox Airy," he said as we stared at him while everyone else is still taken aback by that but Zoro laughed at that. "Hurry, the Marines are coming." "Which way's Alubarna?" "That way. Straight to the east." "What are you doing, Luffy, Airy?" "Hurry." Zoro called us and we nodded before turning back to Smokey. "You really are a good guy, Smokey," we exclaimed in sync and that apparently made him felt embarrassed and chased us off because of that. We yelped at that and laughed as we ran away toward everyone else, which on a giant crab right now. "Wow, a giant crab," I exclaimed and took a picture of it before we hopped on and the crab started to walk away. But then a golden hook got Vivi and the crab stopped as she got caught by that. But Luffy quickly pulled her away as he traded him with her, and I quickly caught Vivi in my arms before she turned to look at Luffy, who was already in distance. "You guys go ahead, I'll be fine by myself," he exclaimed and I gritted my teeth at that. "Make sure you get there. Get Vivi to the palace," he continued while everyone is calling him in worried tones. "Stupid brother," I muttered. "Head straight to Alubarna, Chopper," I exclaimed. "Okay, got it," Chopper replied and we moved again. "What? We're just going to leave him, Airy?" Usopp asked frantically. "Luffy-san," Vivi called. "It's okay Vivi, he'll be fine," Nami told her. "I feel sorrier for them. There isn't one single person who's tried to fight Luffy and gotten away safely." She continued. "Understand, Vivi, he will stop Crocodile," Zoro told Vivi. "The moment the rebellion moved to attack, this country's limit was defined." He continued, "If the army and the rebels collide, this kingdom is done for. If you are our only hope for stopping this, then you must stay alive, no matter what," I said, "and it doesn't matter to what happens to any of us." "But, Vivi-chan," Sanji-san called, "you helped set this fight up," he said. "You left your country years ago, and you began fighting an organization you knew nothing about." He continued. However, he paused for a moment as he turned around. "You're not fight by yourself anymore. Luffy-san," Vivi called out loud, "we'll be waiting for you in Alubarna." Yeah, I kept watching the small figures in distance as I silently prayed for him. Please, keep him safe. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is The Chronicle by Thief of Stealth. Chapter 42. Now, you guys asked me about what the hell this paper is, right? I asked back as I showed them Ace's Vivre card and most of the Straw Hats nodded in understanding. This, I pointed at the paper, is a paper of life. They, oohed, before nodding, looking back at the Vivre cards that Ace gave them, aka my paper of life. This in a special form of paper made in New World and made from part of a person's fingernail which is then made into paper. Now, look at this. I put the paper right in front of Flame and he breathed out fire, which making them gasped at the sight before the fire dies down, still revealing the paper fully with no burns. It is completely fireproof and waterproof. I grinned before looking away a bit. Too bad there's no water here, I muttered before turning back to everyone. And look at this. I put the paper right on the crab's back and used my cap as a cover for the winds that kept blowing. They peeked closer and we saw that the paper slowly moving. It's moved, Nami exclaimed. Isn't it because of the breeze? Usopp asked. It's kinda hard to explain it to you guys when we're on the way to Alubarna and breezes are everywhere. I sighed as the wind blowing fast before looking back to where Luffy was before. I wonder he will be okay, I muttered before I felt a slight pain right in my stomach and I grunted in pain. Eri, are you okay? Nami asked in worry as she saw me in pain. You look pale. She added. My stomach, I breathed out as I gripped my stomach. It hurts, I added. What? I heard squeaky voice and footsteps before I felt furry hands on me to check me out. Where does it hurt? Chopper asked in worry. My stomach, I replied as he lied me down and I curled in pain, still gripping my stomach. It's like I've been stabbed right through from my stomach to my back by a hook. I added. But you don't seem to be bleeding, he said as he checked my stomach. Could it be, Luffy? I thought as I started to worry about my baby big brother of mine, and as I closed my eyes, I saw a picture of Luffy being stabbed by Crocodile using the hook before I opened my eyes again and the pain is gone. I sat up with blank face as the pain is gone and laughed nervously. What? The pain is gone? I pointed out and stretched out. What? Chopper asked and I grinned at him. Thanks for checking me up, Chopper, you're the best. I told him and he started dancing as he denied that he's happy before he's back to the reign of the crab and I looked down with worried expression. Are you really okay, Eri-chan? Vivi asked as she comforted me by stroking my back. I nodded. Yeah, I'll be fine. I replied with a weak smile. Zoro, you're only wasting energy. Nami pointed out and I saw that Zoro is making the camel on his sword as a weight. He snapped at him while Sanji-san is talking things before provoking the green head, which earning those two to fight again and stopped when Nami told them to by hitting both of their heads. I coughed when the smoke of Sanji-san's cigar blew over me and I hit his head for that, which he quickly apologized. The others kept talking while I kept looking at the back in distance as the day got dark and I suddenly felt that I couldn't breathe. I coughed as I tried to breathe and wheezing, kept struggling to breathe but no avail. The other who saw me quickly approached me and started to panic. I felt my head is starting to feel light and I saw stars in my eyes. So this is the soul bond. I thought for the last time before I blacked out, earning panic cries from the others. XXX. Let's see. Even the Ahu still can't control their power fully yet, they still can feel their power through the soul bond. Soul bond is a power that, bonding, is with their bonds, such as families, friends, lovers, etc. that really close to them by showing them what happened to their bonds, such as the pain their close bonds felt in flashes of what really has happened. These are usually only happened when their bonds were receiving the event that endangered their life. Usually these will keep happening and will get more frequent when their bonds are getting closer to them. What? So this soul bond thing is like a vision of what really happened of someone or some people that close to us and can also feel their pain that got them badly. I asked in confusion as I read the book. It's kind of a pain in the ass, don't you think, Takao? I asked to my partner, who is busying himself by feeling the breezes that brushed off his feathers. Well, Takao started as he turned to look at me. I think it's really convenient. He replied. Why is that? I asked back. Because that way, we could feel and saw what really has happened to them while we're away, so we could go and save them as fast as we could. He answered, do you understand now, Ojo-sama? Oh. I turned my attention back to the book as my eyes twinkling slightly at the thought of saving our bonds, before I remembered all of my trio brothers, who aren't here right now as they left for hunting along with Flame, before smiled softly. I guess you're right. XXX. NGG, I groaned softly as slowly I opened my eyes and slowly sat up, which is surprising the others around me. What happened? I asked as I rubbed my eye as a stray tear appeared in the corner of my eye. You just fainted a few minutes ago because of something. We should be the one that asking you, what happened? Usopp exclaimed in worry. Is that so? I replied as stretched myself up, just happening to get a hurting event from someone, just that. I said as I grinned. Ha! Usopp stared at me in confusion. I totally can't understand you at all. He sighed and I giggled as I grinned before I grabbed his nose and pulled him closer to me. Nanda, are you saying that I'm a mystery? I asked mischievously while he yelped in pain before I let go his nose as I laughed and slapped his back hard. Why thank you. I'll take that as a compliment, long nose, I said as I smirked playfully. Then I just realized that Takao is nowhere around us from the time we left from Rainbase earlier. I wonder where he is. Does anybody see Takao before we left? I asked out loud. Now that you mention it, I haven't seen him after we separated ways earlier. Zoro pointed out as he kept doing what he did. Isn't he goes with you, Vivi? He asked to Vivi. The princess shook her head. He told me to go on ahead while he hold up the enemies. She explained. I wonder, she muttered. I see. I said before I saw ahead as I felt a large amount of water straight ahead of us. Sure enough, I saw a river right ahead us. Oi, I saw a river in radius of 5 kilometers. I informed them, what should we do? This arrow crab can't stand of water, right? I asked. Yes, moving crabs, or creatures of the sand. Vivi answered. What? This crab can't cross water. Usopp exclaimed, face faulted, but it's a crab. I mean, come on. If the crab can't make it to the other side, then we have to run. I said. Crossing the river will take a day to get to the other side, that will be a waste of time and we only have 4 hours left to stop the war. I continued. Then what should we do? The others started panicking. Do something, Scissor. Oh yeah, Scissor loves dancers, Chopper informed. Then Nami took off her coat, revealing her dancer outfit. Like this? She asked and then the arrow crab's eyes turned around to look at us. He's looking over here, Chopper and me said as we sweat dropped. And as expected, 2 other perverts, the arrow cook and the arrow camel, were also starting to marrow over Nami, along with the crab that even adding the speed and the other 2 perverts fainted because of the arrow power. Perverts. I deadpanned as I rolled my eyes. We kept going and the crab eventually crossing the river by running on top of it while everyone else seemed surprised about this. This kept going until a quarter way of the river and the crab eventually started sinking down deep into the river. We're sinking, Usopp exclaimed. We quickly rose up from the river to the surface and started to swim forward. Then I felt something right in front of us and the thing resurfaced, revealing it as Sandora rare catfish. Yeah, a Sandora rare catfish, named because it's extremely rare. Vivi informed us. WHO cares about that. It also loves to eat humans. Vivi exclaimed as most of us started swimming back in fear as the catfish about to chomp us down. But then a herd of kung fu dugongs came to save the day by beating the fish up. Then we climbed on the fish, using it as a boat while the kung fu dugongs pulling its whiskers as we floated toward the other side. They said, "We can't let our fellow students perish." Chopper said, "But, it's not like we're Luffy's students or anything." Nami commented, "At least we're alive," I said as I smiled in relief and squeezing out the water from my clothes while Flame burst out his fire to steam out the water from his furs. An hour later, we finally arrive at the other side of the river. "We're doing good. Think we can make it in time?" Zoro asked. "I don't know. Even with Eyelash and Flame here, it will be tough," Vivi said, but never forgets that these two can only hold 2 people each. I said, "And from here on the Baroque works will be trying to trap us." Usopp exclaimed, "Isn't there any way we can travel as an entire group?" Nami asked before she spots something from afar. "Wait, over there," she exclaimed as she points ahead of us. "What's that? Enemies. More of them." Usopp yelled in fear. "No," I told him as I smirked and putting in a lollipop into my mouth. "It's just Karu and the Super Spot Build Duck Squad, right?" I pointed out as the others looked closely, revealing it to the ducks. "Quack." Karu quacked as the ducks giving us salutes. They ran toward them and everyone was about to mount them, but I quickly stopped them. Wait. Before we left, we should think of a plan," I told them. "First, Baroque Works agents are spotting Vivi as their main target, right? That is, my friends, should be the main thing we should think about." "Then what are you planning?" Zoro asked, and my bangs shadowing my eyes completely as I smirked. "Just leave everything to me." I grinned as my eyes glinted with mischievousness. XXX. Hey. Thisake. Wayake. Those pirates and the Princess Beta are coming. Miss Merry Christmas exclaimed. "I can already hear their bells a battle cry. At this rate, their bells will gather first. Didn't they want to stop this battle?" She sighed. "They probably just can't make it in time." Miss Doublefinger said, "They were in Rainbase for quite a while." "What? You serious?" Miss Merry Christmas replied while her partner saying something to them in a very long sentence, which unfortunately quite ignored by the others. "So, if the fighting starts first, what are we supposed to do?" Mr. 2 asked. "We don't have to do anything. If the battle starts, not even the princess can do anything about it." Miss Doublefinger replied. "All we have to do is kill the ones we were told to kill." Mr. 1 continued. "Can't Okamas even understand that?" he asked, mocking the Okama. "I think you want a nice big taste of my Okama Kenpo." Mr. 2 growled. "Oh please, just stop it." Miss Doublefinger said. Back hurts. Mr. 4, a massage now. Miss Merry Christmas exclaimed while her partner tried to tell them something. They recoooooooomm, but before he could finish his sentence, he was cut off by his partner even though he continued his sentence. "What? Spitituda already, yabigfAtsloth. She yelled and snatched the telescope and saw it by herself in distance. Ducks. She exclaimed in disbelief. "Ducks? What do you mean, Miss Merry Christmas?" Miss Doublefinger asked. "There too many. 6 the other replied, without Straw Hat. "The list only said 5 people, right?" "No, Miss Merry Christmas. Didn't you listen to the boss? There's the Mr. Prince guy, plus there could be more. So the numbers do work out." Miss Doublefinger replied. "No matter how many more of them there are, our target is still the princess." "Stop your chattering," Mr. 1 said. "Look over there. I can see the rebels. There are so many. That princess is one loony loon if she thinks she can stop all of them." Mr. 2 exclaimed as he saw the rebels before our turn toward where the herd of ducks is, and that loony look is coming from this direction. Ambiguous. Mr. 1, Miss Merry Christmas called. "All we have to do is to get rid of the princess." "Alright, then why don't you tell me which one is Vivi?" She asked as her attention kept at the ducks, revealing that the riders are wearing the same cloaks that hiding their faces. "Oh no, they're all wearing the same cloak," Mr. 2 exclaimed in shock. "And those birds are Alabasta's quickest, the Super Spot Build Duck." Miss Doublefinger said. "Damn, now we can't tell who's Vivi. It's too ambiguous," Mr. 2 exclaimed. "Get him, Mr. 4. Miss Merry Christmas ordered her partner and he fired his bazooka toward the ducks, revealing the ammunition to be a baseball ball, which eventually a time bomb. "Stay away from it," one of the riders yelled and they dodged the bomb and continued their journey. "They dogged it. Those birds are fast," Mr. 2 exclaimed. "2 have broken off to the south. They're splitting up," Miss Merry Christmas exclaimed as she saw 2 of the ducks splitting off from the others. "Those ones are going to the south gate. The south gate is straight where the rebels are heading. So one of them is Vivi. Leave those 2 to us," she exclaimed. "Let's go, Mr. 4. She continued as they ran after the 2. "Hisatsu, Kanboshi. One of the riders exclaimed as he fired toward Mr. 1, which eventually hitting him straight and burning him while the other riders split it off by 2 people each groups. Mr. 1, 2 more split off that way. One of them could be Vivi. Miss Double Finger exclaimed. They're going in the west gate. She added as she watched the group right at her right calmly. Damn, follow them, Mr. 1 replied. Then suddenly one of the last groups of the ducks eventually crashed into Mr. 2 and kept going toward southwest gate. 3 of the 5 gates to Alubarna can be entered from the west. So they're going in separately. Same thing, we'll still kill them inside. Miss Double Finger said, finally figuring it out. You're not getting away from me now. Mr. 2 exclaimed as his nose is bleeding before took off to run after them who crashed into him while the other 2 ran after the ducks that went past their right earlier also. After a few minutes, the agents finally got their prey. Ooh, not too bad. Thanks for following us in. One of the riders that being followed by Mr. 2 said. What? The Okama replied in confusion. Somewhere with the Mr. 1 pair, they also got their prey. Stop, stop. One of the riders exclaimed and the ducks stopped and turned around to face their predators. You people are good at guessing. Yes, I am Princess Vivi. The person said. What the hell are, another one said before the person stopped and clears their throat before continued their words with a little high voice, in the world are you saying? I'm the real Vivi. Somewhere with the Mr. 4 pair, they also finally got their prey. I think this should be far enough. One of the riders said as they stopped and turned around to face their predators. Time to show you who we really are. The riders exclaimed in the same time even though in different places as they threw off their cloaks, revealing their identities at once. Sorry, try again, they said with different expressions at once that showed toward their predators. Somewhere far from Alubarna, 2 figures in cloaks those riding 2 species of animals walked up from the boulder that hiding them earlier. We must hurry, Vivi. One of the riders that eventually riding a fire wolf dog hybrid said as the person jumped off the hybrid and took out a bisinto with trident at the end of the staff. The rebels will be here any minute now. The person continued while the hybrid snarled toward other 2 figures behind them. But Eri-chan, the other rider that eventually riding a big-sized duck tried to protest but cuts off by the other. You want to save your country, don't you? The person with the hybrid asked as they turned toward the other, now hurry and try to stop them. The person continued before looking back toward the other figures that coming toward them. Let us stop those 2 before they kill you and the war will happen. The person added and by the words they said, it could be seen that the person is smiling. Saw, go, stop those rebels. The person ordered the other, who nodded before took off after bit of good luck. The person pulled the cloak off and threw it away, revealing the person to be Eri and the hybrid is Flame. Zananina, Eri chuckled and swirled her weapon before pointing it toward the other 2 figures with her eyes changed into blood red with slits. It looks like you 2 are gonna stuck with us for a while, she continued with evil smirk as shadows fell over her. Mr. 0, 5 and Miss Half Day, I suppose, she said as the other 2 figures revealed as 2 of the agents. 2 agents at once. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone, she chuckled darkly. XXX. First, put on cloaks. I commanded them and they obeyed. Second, mounts the ducks. They did what I said. Lastly, you guys really look the same with those cloaks. I grinned before turning to the arrow camel. You, put on the cloak and mount the duck also. I ordered him and he did it fast. Now, you guys look the same if you guys cover your face with the hoods of the cloaks. I grinned, then now one will know which one is Vivi while you guys ran toward Alubarna as you guys attracting the agents. I continued, you guys will start splitting up after they got close to Alubarna by 2 people each groups. One toward West Gate, another one toward Southwest Gate, and the last one toward South Gate. I finished. As expected from the strategist, Eri Kwan. Sanji-san swooned. She's taken already, Arrow Cook. Zoro told him. Then what about you? Nami asked and I smiled. I'll go with Vivi along with Flame. Who knows something will happen to her while you guys attracting the agents, right? I grinned. Now, let's do this, Minna. I said for the last time and put on my cloak before mounting Flame. To Alubarna. I battle cried loudly. Yeah, XXX. I chuckled darkly, I never thought that I could be this genius and badass. I grinned evilly as a small glint appeared. The princess is getting away, Oni-chan. Mr. 05 told his partner as he turned to look at her, what should we do? Kill this woman and her dog first. Or go straight to the princess? He asked. Looks like we should kill her first, Otudo. Miss Half Day replied as her arms changed into side-like and a pair of green and transparent bug wings appeared on her back. So there won't be any disturbances. She continued coldly. Mr. 05 grinned playfully at this, alrighty. He replied before he put his open palms on the sand surface and it started to glow for a moment. Then suddenly the sand under him started to make a shape like a golem like as it stood up tall, the damned brat on top of the creature's head. Devil fruits, I muttered as I saw their powers, this gonna be interesting. I smirked before turning to the brat. Oi, what DF did you eat? I asked casually. I ate Paramesha type DF, the boy said with childish but dark smile. Pon no am I, in other word, I'm a pawn man. Then I felt a fast movement rushed to me and I quickly jumped back, revealing it to be that green-head girl tried to cut me up into small cubes with her side-like arms. I landed on the sand softly on my feet as I pointed up my weapon blade toward the two while Flame snarled beside me, baring his fangs as his paws starting to be on fire, meaning he's extremely pissed off. Well, that brat sure calling Flame a dog, so not really a surprise. I smirked. Well, I started as I kept smirking, my blood-red eyes with dark slits eventually glinted with excitement and bloodlust. This gonna be a long fight. I continued before the four of us jumped toward our prey at once. This is war. Chapter 43. Ryu no Kajidzu, I exclaimed as I swung my blade toward the girl, who eventually dodged it with ease using those bug wings of her while Flame lunged toward the boy, who commanded his doll to punch away the hybrid, who landed next to me on his paws. Damn, this gonna be interesting. I spat with a grin as I took off all of my outer clothes, revealing me wearing a white tee with green shorts before I jumped toward the girl, kicking her away fast as she skidded away a few meters, causing the sands around her to cloud up. I guess fighting using Kairoseki weapon will be cheating, I said as I threw away my weapon before ran toward the girl as I used my haki on both of my arms before we started attacking at each other using our arms. Iron fist. I punched her away right on her chin, uppercut her. Not giving a chance to her to stand up properly, I ran again toward her and kicked her side with my right foot, kicking her away. This time I waited for her to stand up again as I kept readying my fists and my haki to detect her while the sands blocking my sights to her. I felt she stood up and jumped towards me fast, her side arms lunged toward me. I crossed my arms to my face, still using haki, as her arms clung to my arms and we face to face. I saw her dead fish eyes sparkled with annoyance as we glared at each other. I warded away her arms before we attacked to each other again, using our arms or feet. This apparently started to piss me off, not to mention the strong heat of the desert started to get me, so I kicked her away again a few meters as I panted heavily. I felt my head is starting to feel light and I felt blood started to trail down from my nostrils. Damn, this is why I hate heat. Every time I did something heavy, like running fast for a full 10 minutes or more, I will get a nosebleed. I brushed away the blood as she stood up again and we attacked to each other again, but this time the heat has truly got me as I kept getting slashes from her attacks before she kicked me away, skidding me toward the sand that made small clouds of sands. I coughed before I brushed away the blood again that kept trailing down from my nose. I stood up again before I ran toward where the girl is. I divided my right hand's fingers into Asian dragon's talon-like as I coated them with haki before my slashed her face hard, with made her flew away as a clear two short claw marks appeared on her left cheek that started to bleed before she landed on the sands with big puff as clouds of sands appeared as she landed. I never thought I'll use this one, I muttered as I saw my right hand, that still forming dragon's talon before I put them back to normal. I felt like an asshole to scar that pretty face of yours. I said as I saw her sat up and wiped away the blood from her new wounds without any expression. No one cares about it anyway. She replied as she stood up. I gave away my humanity for the sake of my brothers and my life after those pirates kidnapped us. She continued. You were kidnapped? I asked in confusion, yet you still work with that alligator, who is obviously a pirate even though he works with the world government. He saved us, she replied as her arms formed to scythes, and he gave us a reason to live as he recruited us as agents and bounty hunters after we ate RDF that gave by those pirates that got us, forcibly. She continued before she lunged at me, which I quickly held it back as I crossed my arms in front of me using haki. And now, to repay his effort to raise us up, we must kill all of you and that princess of the country. She finished as we face to face before she kicked my stomach fair and square as I skidded away a few feet. Thankfully I could protect my stomach area using haki despite I still using it on my arms. Then suddenly I heard a loud whine and I turned my head. I saw that Flame was strangled by the sand doll, while the brat was laughing maniacally. Flame, I yelled before I ran toward him and the brat along with the doll, and quickly kicked the brat right on the face, making the brat to flew away and the doll started to crumble back into sands, releasing Flame away. I approached him as I checked any heavy injuries on him while he coughed hard or looked like coughing. You okay? I asked in concern as he sat up and on four before he glared at me, meaning that I interrupted his fight. Fine, you're perfectly fine, whatever you are. I replied as I rolled my eyes before I stood up, facing my enemy as she assisted the brat, or her brother as she said. Kuso, how dare you kick my face away? The brat yelled as he sounded so pissed off. That is just a warm-up. Now playtime is over. He exclaimed before he slammed his palms on the sands that started to glow before many dolls from the sands were formed around us. Thankfully my weapon is right beside me so I took it as the dolls were lunged toward us. I brought up my weapon in the air before I started circling it fast in my hands, which slowly making a small circling winds. Ryu no Tapu, Dragon's Gust. I exclaimed as I gripped the staff before I twirled in a full circle fast, causing a strong gust of wind to wipe away the dolls of sands and made them crumbled back into sands. The brat cursed at this before he did it again, but this time using the huge stone near him. The stone slowly started to reform from the usual stony form into golem-like, but this one is pretty bigger and muscular than the previous ones. Kamen Holem. The brat called, which I assumed the stony's name as the thing turned to him, go kill them. He commanded. The golem turned toward us and we prepared for any attacks, until the golem suddenly sighed and sat down on the sand, refused to do what the brats ordered it about. Wah, come on, there's no time for this. The brat whined as he ran toward the golem and started pulling its hand, come on. We have to kill them first then the princess. He exclaimed again, but no avail, the golem refused to do so as it turned its head away and huffed, which of course causing the brat to jump up and down at this. The two of us sweat dropped at the sight while the greeny girl face-palmed. It seems I should do this by myself first. The girl said as her arms changed into scythes, you can join me later after you succeed to persuade it to obey your command, Mr. 05. She continued while her partner replied with a grunt as he pulled the golem's hand hard. Then she lunged toward us and I was about to hold her arms up, only stopped by a circling fire that lunged toward the girl and the girl flew away back a few feet before she's back to her feet, some burn marks on her. Then the circling fire landed right in front of me, revealing it to be flame. Then he glanced at me with a look and I immediately understood at the look. I nodded, all right, if you say so. I replied before I walked away from him before both flame and the girl started their fights. Then I turned my attention back to the brat and the huge golem, who was still refused to obey the brat before its supposed eyes landed on me. We just stared at each other before the golem finally stood up, causing the brat to fall on the sand before he stood up again, boasting with excitement. All right, you finally heard me, he exclaimed before he turned to me, now, go kill her. He ordered and the golem roared loudly, making me to cover my ears at the loudness before my nosebleed is back. I cursed lightly as the golem ran toward me and I wiped off the blood before quickly jumped away as the golem tried to punch me with its huge, stubby hand. The golem was surprisingly fast despite its huge and heavy appearances before it roared and lunged toward me once again. This time it got me as it punched me away hard, making me flew away fast and landed right on the other rock around us. I coughed out blood as I slowly pulled out from the rock by the gravitation that eventually shaping into my form and landed on the sand hard, making me grunted in pain as I felt my back head is starting to bleed and from my forehead also. I pushed myself up and coughed out blood, while the brat laughing happily at my current condition. Finally, I bet that's gonna slows her down a bit. Come on, did it again until she's dead. He exclaimed in happiness, which replied with a groan by the golem. I looked up as the golem slowly approaching me and brought me up using its hands before it slowly tried to crush me in its hands. I groaned in pain as I slowly felt that some of my bones are starting to crack up. I screamed in pain as I felt some of my ribs started to snap, which eventually making the golem stopped by unknown reason. I coughed out blood as I wheezed slowly, my sight started to flicker out as the golem put me down on the sand slowly, which eventually making the brat yelled at it in confusion. I grunted in pain as I felt an intense pain from my sides right where my ribs are. I bet some of my ribs are broken or fractured. But I pushed myself up and slowly on my feet, my arms holding my sides as I looked up at the golem, who just watching at me with its supposedly eyes, blankly. I walked slowly toward where my weapon is and took it, gripping it hard before I jumped toward the golem, ignoring the immense pain from the broken ribs. Ryu no Setsuda no, I exclaimed as I cut the golem off in half, my eyes shadowed by my bangs as the golem was sliced off and landed on the sands with loud boom and big puff of sand clouds. I landed safely on my feet before I used my weapon to help me stand up properly. Sorry, I muttered softly, my bangs shadowing my eyes, I'll pay you off by beating that brat up. I continued before I looked up, with new determination in my eyes as I gripped my weapons and looked at the brat right in the eyes, which making him flinch a bit in fear. You should know that those pawns of yours aren't just a mere pawns, I told him sharply, they have souls. Having souls, meaning they're alive. Just because you gave them lives, doesn't mean you could order them to do whatever you want. I continued as I walked closer to him. They may be your pawns, but they still have souls and freedoms. You should know that you can't order them freely just like the golem that attacked me, right? I pointed out as I'm right in front of him, making him stare at me in fear. If I were you, I'll treat them like my nakamas, not some kind of tools. I yelled before I kicked him away far. Sure, he may be a kid, but doesn't mean that I will give him any pity. Enemy is enemy, doesn't matter how old, how weak, how strong, how tall they are, they're still enemy. Ignoring the pain from my ribs, I approached the brat again and pulled him closer to my face by grabbing his shirt. Listen to me you brat. Those pawns of yours aren't tools. They're nakamas. Sure, they may be followed your orders, but doesn't mean you could push them around to do your orders. If they refuse to do so, then don't push them to do so. Just because you gave them lives, you could order them freely at your will. I yelled, devil fruit aren't just giving you awesome powers and use it to fight, but also giving you a lifetime grief and responsibility. That DF power of yours won't disappear unless you're dead. So use that power to do something positive, not negative. I continued, which making him trembled in fear and his eyes started tearing up before I let got my hold of his shirt, letting him fall on the sands. Now, where are we? I asked slowly as half of my face was shadowed and smirked slowly. Should we finish this fist to fist? I asked as I walked back a few steps and bringing up my hockey-coated fists. He gritted his teeth before he stood up as well, readying his fists. So you mean that I should treat them like friends?
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
He asked, is there another thing in my obvious words? I replied as I smirked. We lunged at each other and exchanging punches and kicks at each other for a long period of time, probably around a minute or two. For a brat, his kicks and punches sure are hurt. And he's fast. But then he kicked me right on my left ribs, which making me grunted in pain and coughed out blood as I landed on the sands. I kept coughing before I'm on my feet again and wiped off the blood from the corner of my mouth. This won't last long, I said as I readied my fists with hockey and lunged at him, which slightly caught him in surprise. Because I'll finish you here and right now, I exclaimed. Get a taste of Garp G's fist of love, I exclaimed as I hit him right on top of his head, which fortunately making him fainted at the immense pain from the punch and landed on the sand. I panted slightly as I landed on my knees, coughing blood lightly. At the same time, a loud explosion was heard from afar and I turned to see what it is. Apparently, it was Flame and the girl, which probably already finished as I saw the girl landed on the sand hard, burns were here and there and she's unconscious. I was slightly pity at the girl for tasting a hot fire fresh from Flame. It was really a nasty and not a good thing to taste, apparently. Far west side of a Lubarna battle. Winner, Erica and Flame's team. Prize, a little understanding. Then I heard another explosion from afar, but this time not from Flame, it's from a Lubarna. So the war is already started. As Flame approaching me with body full of cuts, he licked my cheek to get my attention. I turned and petted him before I turned to our now unconscious enemies. Sure, they may be enemies, but they're lost now. Maybe it would be a great idea to bring them along to the city. So maybe after these all over, they'll get a treatment from someone and they could live here as normal citizens, as not many people knew them, right? Right. Come on Flame, grab these two and let's go to the city. I told him as I stood up and took my weapons as I took off the blades and put them into the cases before slipping my baton-length bow staff into my belt. He actually protested but obeyed it too in the end. I put the children on his back and we walked toward the city quite fast, but not fast enough to make the children fell from Flame's back. After we arrived right in front of the city's gate aka the stairs, we met with Chopper and Usopp that was wrapped in bandages like mummy. Ooey, Minna, I called as we approached them, making the turn to us. Ooh, Eri, Flame, Chopper called back as we stopped in front of them, are you alright? He asked in concern as he saw our bloody features before his eyes landed on the figures on Flame's back, which making him quickly backed away frantically. And who are them? Enemies, he asked frantically. What, enemy? Usopp joins in. Well, previously, yeah they are. I replied and sat down on the sand slowly, winced a bit at the movement that caused the pain resurfaced again. But anyway, can you treat them, Chopper? And don't forget us too. I asked him. But what if they attacked us? Usopp asked frantically. Oh come on, we can just practically kick them in their shins, it's no big deal. I replied calmly, besides, they're out cold now, so don't worry. I continued. But are you sure about this, Eri? Chopper asked in concern, they may be injured, but they're still our enemies. They're unconscious now, so worry not. I replied with a grin and he nodded. If you say so. He replied before he checked on Flame, me and the other two before he started treating us. He started telling us about our injuries, but I could be careless cause I don't understand a thing of what the hell is he saying. Right after he finished, Sanji-san came to us, all bloody, along with the arrow camel. Eri Kwan, I'm glad you're alright. He swooned as he saw me, which making sighed at the sight. Yes, whatever. I replied. Oi, Usopp. Sanji-san called as he threw something to Usopp, who caught it and revealing it as his goggles. The long-nosed teen looked so happy at it before he put it on himself, only revealing as one of the goggles fell off and he yelled at Sanji-san at that. What? You should be grateful that I brought it back. The cook replied without any care. Then he helped Usopp up and put him on the camel's back while Chopper on the camel's head. Sanji-san was holding the girl while Flame was taking the brat on his back. We walked into the city while Usopp is crying. Why are you crying like that? Sanji-san asked. Who's crying? One who says the other is crying is the real one crying. The teen replied. Nani? It's because, that damn mole. Usopp paused for a bit, she said Luffy was already dead. He exclaimed. I quickly hit his head for that, which earning a loud yell from the small doctor and a loud pained yell from the long-nosed. If Luffy was dead, then I'll know it fast, Baka. I replied sharply. Besides, if he's dead, I'll able to feel it. I continued. Do you think he's dead? I asked back. Of course not. He replied. Then there's no problem, right? I smiled a bit. Let's talk about everything else after all of these. First we must go to the palace to see if Vivi is fine. I continued and the others nodded as we kept walking fast toward the center of the city. One time Usopp slipped off from the camel's back and fell onto the ground, which making the others to help him up again. After a while, we finally arrived at the center of the city, where the war resides. The heavy ironic smell of bloods and heavy smell of gunpowder are everywhere. Iron clashing with each other, loud sounds of guns that were shot, and cries of war and in agony are everywhere. It was totally a chaos. I was slightly shook up at the situation, making me all remember about the Summit War in the future later. Loud sounds of blades clashing at each other, the loud explosion from the cannons, heavy smell of gunpowder, people screaming in agony that either from pirates or marines, nasty ironic smell of bloods, battle cries from either pirates or marines, and loud cry of deep sadness from Luffy. I was so preoccupied at the thought as I didn't realize that my breath was getting shorter and shorter and I eventually started wheezing, suddenly got a panic attack. I fell on my knees as I still busy at my thought of the Summit War, not realizing Chopper's panic cries and the others' surprised cries. I finally snapped out of the thought after Chopper shook me back and forth hard in his heavy point and panic expression. "Eri, snap out of it," he exclaimed as I finally regained my conscious. Chopper. I asked softly. "It's okay, don't panic. We're here, snap out of it," he said softly as I hugged myself. "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm perfectly fine," I muttered softly and closed my eyes, trying to calm down slowly and I felt Chopper's hand on my back, making circles to soothe me. "This is not Summit War, no one gonna die, Ace and Luffy will still be alive, they won't die." I shuddered at the thought of Ace died in Luffy's arms, blood's on the rubber man's palms and dripping out from Ace's whole wound and splattered out on the stony floor as he fell onto the floor after he slipped off from Luffy's arms. I took a deep breath before sighing, calming myself down before felt both Zoro and Nami were running nearing us and eventually right beside us. Those two talked to the others while I finally able to calm myself down and finally on my feet again. "Alright, I'm calm now," I said in new determination and huffed as I smiled softly before turning to the others. "Well, what should we do now?" I asked until suddenly a sandstorm was picked up right in the middle of the war, which most likely that alligator's doings. "That stupid alligator. How dare he do this?" I growled as I heard cries in agonies from afar, along with gunshots, before I heard Vivi's loud cries from the top of the palace and looked up. The loud battle cries from both rebels and royal armies sides were heard again, along with loud sounds of blades clashing to each other and gunshots. "Vivi-chan," I bit my bottom lip at this as I closed my eyes before opening it again. Then suddenly I saw Vivi was holed up by the damned alligator right on her neck, across the rail of the palace at the top, about to make her fell straight into the war if he let go of his grip. God damn it. After Luffy beat him to a pulp, I'll give him the finishing touch. Then just like I just thought earlier, the damned alligator turned himself into sands and eventually making Vivi free fall into the war, which making almost all of us called her name loudly. But then I felt two familiar presences from the air right on top of where the war resides. I saw a flash of navy blue and red right on the air as a big falcon with white robe soared in the sky as someone shout out alligator's name and eventually got Vivi before she fell straight into the war, revealing the flash of navy blue and red as Takao and Luffy, who got Vivi in his arms. Most of the Straw Hats cheered as they saw Luffy who got Vivi in his arms. I smiled softly at the sight before I saw Luffy propelled his arms onto the top of the palace while we ran toward them. "Minna, you're all here," Vivi said as she saw us and I hugged Takao hard as I finally see him again, which earning a pained yelp from him and I just realized his bandaged wings. "Yep, we're here," I replied with a grin before turning to Takao. "What happened to your wings?" I asked. "Nico Robin got me," he replied shortly and that short answer immediately made me burst out in flames of fury. "How dare she?" I growled in fury, which quickly cooled off by Takao saying it's no big deal, as long he didn't use his wings, he'll be fine. I huffed, "Doesn't mean I'll forgive her easily." I said, "Sorry guys, I lost to that guy once," we heard Luffy said and we all turned to see Luffy. "So this time I can't lose," he continued. "If you can't win, who can?" Usopp yelled at him. "Hurry up with it," Zoro said softly while the rest of us just smiled at these. "I'll finish it now, all of it," Luffy declared as he glanced at us. "Alright," we exclaimed in sync at this before Luffy launched himself to where the damned alligator is. "Minna," Vivi called and we turned to saw her. "There's bomb somewhere in the city. Please help me found it and stop it before it explode," she said, "or else the bomb will wipe Alubarna along with the people in the city." "Bomb, I echoed back, "so we're gonna play hide and seek with the bomb. Damn, this gonna be a dangerous game I ever played," I continued as I put in a candy into my mouth. "Bomb," Usopp yelled in fear. "You mean there's bomb somewhere in the city?" Apparently, she just said that. "Thank you Mr. Obvious." I deadpanned before turning back to Vivi. "Sure, why not?" I challenged her as I smirked. "This will be a great gamble." I added evilly. "This is a gamble between our life and the country's." Chapter 44. Now, all we have to do is looking for that tall tower. I said to my partners after everyone split up to search the bomb, I mean a giant and tall clock tower. I corrected quickly. Wait, you mean you already knew all along, Ojo-sama? Takao yelled at me in disbelief, why didn't you tell the others? Because if I told them, they'll ask how I could know it. I replied casually and quickly kicking away someone that charging to me, and that would be so troublesome. I added as I grinned sheepishly, making both of my partners face pot talon. Now come on, we better move, we got less than 5 minutes now, come on. I exclaimed as I ran out from the war field, along with the other two. After we're out, we found the clock tower, which at the left side of the war field. I grinned before ran toward it, using hockey as the dusts were blocking my sights, along with the other two who just running after me. After I'm right in front of it, I kicked down the door and ran toward the top of the tower until I'm eventually at the top, but not right at where the clock is. Damn, where the hell is the door to the clock? I thought out loud as I walked to the window and looked out. Eri-chan. I heard someone called me and looked down, only to see the others but Sanji and Zoro. Yo Minna, I replied as I brought a hand to greet them. What's up? I asked. The bomb is right at the top of the building. I heard Usopp yelled. Yeah, I know. I replied a little bit louder, I felt 2 people on top, though. I added and right after I said that, I heard a gunshot right from the top, where the clock at, and I saw Pell was falling down with droplets of blood trailing up as he fell. It seems the others didn't know about that except me, Takao, and Flame. Slowly, my blood starts to boil as I saw his bird figure fell down and shadows hung over my eyes. My fists curled up in a ball until my knuckles turned white as I curled it too hard before I walked back a few steps and looked up right at the ceiling. I turned my fists into black and jumped, punching the ceiling up with such a great force as big hole was shaped and some of the craters landed onto the ground, along with me. Then I squatted down before jumped up toward the hole and landed right at the side of the hole, which just my luck that I landed right in front of the other 2 agents with the most ridiculous costume and appearance I ever seen. After Buggy of course, but that's aside. Before they could react, I quickly jumped and landed right behind them before I did a handstand and making my legs in a perfect 180 degree before I kicked them right into the hole, where my partners are. I peeked into the hole and gave the 2 a movement of my hand on my neck, moving it from the left to the right side with pissed off expression, which a metaphor of cutting off their heads aka beating them up. They understood and eventually beating the agents up until they're half dead, I guess. Then I walked up to the giant circle door-like thing and pushed it open. It was totally heavy, I tell you that. But this is just a half weight that Garp Jii gave me years ago, so it's not that bad. But it's kinda hard to open it until I saw a lever not far from me. Then I walked up to it and pulled it down, which slowly is opening the giant circle door-like thing slowly. Then I walked toward the edge of the door and peeked out, which taking the Straw Hat's attentions. Yo, Minna, I shouted, loud enough for them to hear, I found the bomb right here. I exclaimed. Really? The others, especially Vivi, yelled back. Hurry and come up here, Vivi. The whole city is going to be blown up in less than 2 minutes. I yelled again and I saw she nodded. I walked back and turned around, this time looking right into the giant cannon and I saw the bomb is in there. But there's ticking sounds, despite I'm at the clock tower, especially at the clock side, the ticking sounds of the 2 are different. Then I felt Vivi landed at the edge of the door and I turned to look at her. Vivi, I called as I fully turned to see her, sorry to make you get a heart attack. But, I trailed off as she waited for me continue my words and I looked at her right in her eyes, the bomb is a time bomb. I stated and she widened her eyes. As she ran to look into the cannon, I walked back a few steps as Vivi saying things in frustration while I stared at the sight in sympathy until I felt another presence at the edge at the giant circle thing, which revealed as Pell. This place holds a lot of memories. Pell said as Vivi turned around to look at him while the man looking longingly, it's the Suna clan's secret base, really, you were such a noisy child. You gave me a headache almost every day. He continued. Pell, listen. Vivi called, it's a time bomb, it's going to explode soon. She continued but it seems Pell didn't seem to pay attention to what she said. Vivi-sama, Pell called, I am very pleased that I was able to serve the Nefertari family. He continued, which confusing Vivi up. It's something from the depths of my heart, that I am so proud of. He finished as he smiled before in a quick move, he transformed into giant falcon and pulled out the bomb using his talons as he flew upward away from the city, which shocking both of us. This kept going until he's just a speck of dot at the air until a huge blast right in the sky appeared. I just stared in shock while Vivi was covering her mouth as she's about to cry in shock, disbelief, and literally frustration. My hands curled into a ball as I gripped it hard enough to draw blood. Right after a few moments the blast, which stopping the war for a moment, the said war started again, as if the sacrifice of the said guardian spirit of Alabasta didn't ever happen or even the bomb was about to kill all of them. I don't believe it, I muttered out as I looked down, right at the war field with dark eyes. Despite they all almost died because of that damned bomb and we got another victim of this event, they got back into a war just like that never happened. I growled in fury as I gritted my teeth hard and glaring death at the war field. Is humans always this selfish? I exclaimed in fury while Vivi didn't say anything to it until she looked down and biting her lower lip. Losing control of rages, blind in unreasonable reason to fight, their passion of protecting the country, I trailed off as I kept looking at the war field. This is what you call as idiots. I finished, and at the same time, the sounds of gunshots and blades connecting to each other, along with war cry, followed up. Please, I heard Vivi muttered, and she stood up, looking at the war field hard. Stop fighting. She yelled, please everyone. Stop fighting. Please stop fighting everyone. She continued. She kept yelling that as I stared at her in sympathy as her yelling just fell on deaf ears. Vivi, I said softly as she kept yelling, and I turned at the war field, which seems too occupied with their activity right now. I quickly hugged her tight, which stopping her from continuing her activity, and cried in my chest as I stroked her cyan blue hair. It's all right, Vivi, I said softly as she cried. Everything's will be over soon. Luffy is beating that alligator right now. The rain will be back, and it will stop the war. I continued. Just like the fate is blessing me, something was flying over in the sky and landed right in the center of the war field, which eventually taking both of us attentions, and we parted away to see what is that. That's, Vivi started with wide eyes, alligator. I finished in excitement with big smile as we saw a familiar person in furry coat and a hook for left hand right in the air. There are no more enemies, Vivi said softly, so please stop the bloodshed. She exclaimed. So please everyone, stop this fighting. I don't know if this is a miracle or not, but right after Vivi yelled that, droplets of water starting to fall, and it rained hard, which eventually stopping the people down there from fighting to each other. Look, Vivi, I called as I smiled softly and looking at the sky is finally stopping the war. I pointed out as the war was totally stopped. So everyone please, stop fighting, she yelled once more, and this time everyone down there can heard it clearly as fresh water as they looking up, right where Vivi and me is. I smiled and pat her head as a good luck before I jumped down, which shocking almost everyone that see it. But right I was about to land on the ground, Chopper quickly transformed into his guard point and I landed on him. I grinned, thanks Chopper. You're the best, I told him before run off, ignoring almost all the straw hats yelling and shouting as I ran away from there with a grin. I kept running as the other turning their attention back to Vivi, which at the same time I arrived at where the stupid alligator landed, unconscious. I smiled sweetly as dark aura started to spread out as I brought up my right foot and brought it down right at the stupid alligator's stupid face and grinded it hard. Well, look what do we have here, I said as I kept smiling and grinding my foot on his face harder. We got a big one alligator here. I giggled darkly as I felt some of the citizens near me started to inches away. Look here, I pointed out as I brought up my hand to feel the droplets landed on my palm. You lost, stupid Shichibukai. Sure, we may have been met years ago at the time I got lost in Mariajoy right into the meeting room, but it seems you didn't remember me at all, I asked before I jumped and landed hard on the Shichibukai's stomach, hard. I'm hurt, yeah, no. I smirked mischievously before I hopped off from the unconscious man and walked away from the spot to where the others are, at the same time as the citizens putting down their weapons. I smiled and looked at the sky as the rain slowly making me wet and soaking my hair as I kept walking away from the spot to where everyone is using my hockey, and I eventually found them, except for Takao and Flame, probably with the children or not, along with Luffy and the King of Alabasta Cobra. So you're the pirate group that brought Vivi back? The king said. Huh, who are you, Mr. Sanji-san asked. Everyone. We heard Vivi called and we turned while she noticed another company, Papa. She exclaimed. Papa, you're Vivi-chan's dad. Sanji-san yelled in shock as his eyes bulged out. You're the king? Zoro asked casually as the king put Luffy near a building. I thought I was dead for sure, the king said, but this kid saved me, he said as he looked at Luffy. Even after fighting with Crocodile, he carried 2 people to the surface, such unbelievable power. He continued. So does that mean the poison is gone already? Usopp asked. It should be neutralized. Nami pointed out. But the wounds should be treated, you guys too. Chopper said. Vivi, stop bothering with us, hurry up and go. Zoro said as he sat down and me sat down beside Luffy. Yeah, go back to the palace ground. I continued as I leaned on the wall. Right, you finally stopped the uprising. Without you and the king showing up, it just won't seem like the end. Usopp pointed out. That's right, let's all go. Vivi invited us. Vivi-chan, I think you should know that we're pirates. Sanji-san said as he lighted up a cigar before grinning at her. We don't like to get involved with politics. He continued. I was just grinning at that while the rest just saying their feelings before the king and Vivi left, making almost all of us collapse because of fatigue after they're out of sight. The war's finally over, and we finally won, XXX. I stirred as I slowly woke up, blinking a few times before sat up, scratching my head before turning to see Vivi was still awake, looking out at the window, looking at the rain that kept pouring. You still awake? I asked her, which taking the princess's attention, and she smiled before turning back her attention to the rain. I just smiled before lying down back on the bed and pulled the blanket to cover me. Just don't sleep too late. I told her for the last time before drifted off again to dreamland. The next time I'm awake, it's already in daytime and everyone is already awake, except for Luffy, of course. He's still dead tired from the fight, and my head is still pounding from the impact by that stupid golem and actually my whole body is hurt. I was about to sleep again but it seems my stomach didn't approve it, so I sat up and yawned as widely as I could. And a little farting event. Whoops, sorry. Eri-chan, you're finally awake. I turned and saw Vivi holding a basin of water along with a cloth as she walked beside Luffy and putting the basin on the nightstand and putting the wet cloth on Luffy's forehead. How long did I slept? I asked sleepily. About 3 days. She replied casually. What? I yelled loudly as I wiped my head to look at her fully. You mean I missed 18 meals? I continued. Why did you count it as 6 meals a day? I heard someone said that followed by a soft closing door, which revealed as Nami. Because I have 3 normal meals and 3 snacks time. Are you that stupid, Nami? I exclaimed, which eventually earns a hit in the head. I dunno if it's a miracle or curse. After she hit me and we yelled at each other until we stopped for maybe an hour or so. The others came and Luffy eventually woke up for another hours, which the usual noisy one. This guy is really noisy when he wakes up. Sanji-san pointed out. Also, it's not breakfast time, it's dinner time. He continued. Here's your hat, Luffy Dono. Takao said as he put the hat on the bed next to Luffy, who thanked him and put it on. Luffy-san, it's good to see you have a high spirit. Vivi said, relieved. High spirit? I'm like this all the time, am I? Luffy asked dumbly. You idiot, you had high fever and your condition was pretty serious. Nami pointed out. Really? Thanks you all. Luffy thanked before Zoro walks in. Wah, Luffy, you're awake. The greenhead asked. Zoro. Long time no see. Luffy greeted as he brought up a hand. Long time no see. He repeated in confusion and he started thinking while tilting his head. It's not weird he became like that. Usopp pointed out and told him that he slept for 3 days. 3 dias. I slept for 3 days. He exclaimed and there was a counting sound like in the supermarket that ends with a ching. I missed 15 meals. He continued in shock. How come can you count those kind of things so fast? Nami asked as she sweat dropped. And he counted 5 meals a day. Usopp pointed out. Well, I missed 18 meals. I exclaimed in frustration, this is so dumb for missing meals like this. I ruffled my bed hair in frustration while the other 2 sweat dropped. And there goes the glutton siblings. Both Nami and Usopp muttered out loud at the fact that we just missed our meal times and the fact of how we really love the food. Hehehe, I already asked for dinner to be prepared, don't worry. Vivi said and both Luffy and me wiped our heads to look at her with sparkles around our faces. Really? Food? We exclaimed in excitement and at the same time, someone barged at the door and walks in, along with a huge cart of fruits behind the person. The captain has just woken up. It will take another 30 minutes for dinner to be ready, will you all please wait? The person, who was revealed as a woman that almost a perfect copy of Chakua wig hair Asen. It will be better if we all ate together. She continued. Hey, wah, hey Asen, you're still alive, Luffy exclaimed in shock as his eyes bulged out while Zoro started to inches away from the woman. So you're into these. Zoro trailed off while the woman doesn't seem to understand. But Vivi quickly explains it all and Zoro seems to be scarred for life. There should be a limit as how similar a couple should be, he trailed off. I heard that 2 of you eat a lot before dinner, please enjoy these fruits first, okay? Terracotta said while both Luffy and me ate all of the fruits in a blink of an eye. We understand, we replied in sync while the others seemed to be shocked about it. Obasan, we want 3 days worth of food. We continued. Don't worry, I have worked for 30 years, I won't disappoint your appetite, just eat your fill. She replied before leaving the room along with the guy who pushing the cart. After the exact 30 minutes, we're all finally at the dining room, along with the king that also eating with us together. But of course, both Luffy and me seemed too hungry to care about table manners as we ate sloppily and pretty much noisy, despite there's a king that also eating with us. But he seems to be amused by the fact we made the dinner pretty lively. Eat faster. Finish them. Zoro exclaimed and about to bite down a ball of rice until Luffy took it, even faster than Zoro. Hey, Eri, you just took my plate. Usopp exclaimed in anger as he put a foot on the table. You're just too slow. I exclaimed and ate the food on Usopp's plate before grabbing a chicken leg and finishing it off before throwing the bone to Usopp, which strikes right on his forehead. Don't spit food everywhere, Nami exclaimed as she hit Luffy. Oi, why are you eating so fast? Sanji-san asked as he saw that Chopper is eating his food fast. That, until Flame decided to hop on the table and ate Chopper's, which causing the small reindeer to yell at him, who only laughing at that before got another victim aka Zoro and Usopp's food is just about to be spicy, which doesn't really have any effect to the hybrid. Takao's wings were already healed fully so he's kept snatching people's food from their fork or their plates before eating them fast before snatching another food of the others. So you're the king. So, you must be Vivi's father, Luffy said to the king in, I dunno, alien language. Probably, right, he continued, which making the king all confused at what the hell is he saying. Take it easy, we can talk after we eat, the king said. Ah, that's right, Luffy agreed as he slurped in all the noodles on the plate. Can I have more beer? Zoro exclaimed. I want water. Sanji-san exclaimed as Chopper was pounding the table as the food seems to be stuck in his throat. Don't know what that meant, by the way. We kept eating and laughing as the trio stooges were making events again, which are making everyone in the room having a laughing fit. Such a lively dinner in the palace dining room. XXX. Whoa, I exclaimed as my voice echoed in the girls' bath, this is so cool. I continued in excitement. Now I can wash off all the filth I got. I exclaimed in happiness before ran toward the pool and jumps in, ignoring Nami's frustrated side and Vivi's soft giggle. I kept swimming in happiness before I pulled myself out from the pool and washed myself, especially my hair. Seriously, aren't you guys have long arms? I asked as I saw Vivi is scrubbing Nami's back, can't you wash your own back? I asked in curiosity, as I never got any answer at the fact that Japanese are tended to take a bath in two and they seems to scrubs their partner's backs. It's for cleaning up the dead skins of your back. Nami explained and I just oohed. Then I felt many eyes looking at us and the three of us turned to see that the men are peeping on us. How dare they peeping on us? I sighed as I slapped my face before both Nami and me nodded to each other and we slipped off our towel, showing our, I dunno, private parts. Happiness punch, we exclaimed while the men who were peeping on us getting nosebleeds and fainted, 200,000 each. We continued as we tied back the towel and we high-fived as we grinned, while ignoring Vivi's shocked cry. I just laughed at that while I sat down on the small chair and Vivi kept saying that we should have shame. Come on, it's not that bad. Even Ace has seen it since we're kids and he doesn't seems to complain. I pointed out before telling Vivi to scrub my back too. But you two shouldn't have done that. Vivi complained before she paused as she saw my scarred back. She trailed off as she touched the scars while I just grinned and peeked from my shoulder. Cool, I got this when the three of us are still snotty brats. I said before chuckling, I saved them, in exchange of scarred back. Pretty badass, Geshishishi. I chuckled while Vivi just stared at me in disbelief before sighing and smiled softly. You always seem to be the positive about whatever happened to you, aren't you, Eri-chan? Vivi asked as she scrubbed my back. Really? I asked back before thinking hard, I don't think so. I'm always being all negative about everything around me, not to mention saying gross stuffs like an asterisk. Oh, and don't forget about. I said casually happily and laughed, while Vivi looked paled about it and Nami just sighed as she slaps her face. After a while, we dip into the pool. We're thinking of leaving here today. Nami said to Vivi while I'm busy playing with water. Huh, really? Vivi exclaimed in shock. We don't have any reason to stay here anymore because the two siblings have recovered. Nami explained, the Marines are guarding the coast, our ship is in danger, she continued. Yeah, I join in, not to mention there will be that annoying but lovely Marine captain named Hina-san. And along with Smokey, of course. I said as my mind trailed off to where there's one time I got bind by Hina-san's DF power because I'm running off again in the HQ and gave me back to Garp JII. Just like a hunted animal, seriously. Vivi seems to look surprised and thinking hard about this. I just smiled and patted her head in comfort. Don't worry, Vivi-chan. You can tell us your answer to join us tomorrow morning before we set off. I told her and grinned. She just looked at me, unsure, before nodding. XXX. We're leaving here tonight? Zoro asked. Yes, Nami replied. I think this is the right time to go. What do you think? Zoro asked. Oh yeah, the Marines have started moving too. Sanji-san pointed out. Luffy, it's up to you. Usopp said to Luffy. Right, we should have another Alabastan meal before we go. Luffy announced, which earning a punch in the head by the others. I already got 10 packs of box lunches here, by the way. I announced as I hugged a tall rectangular bundle lovingly before turning into evil face, and no one can touch my food. I added and laughed evilly. What? No fair, I want some too. Luffy exclaimed and jumped toward me, which eventually causing him to flew off to the wall far as I kicked him away. Then one of the guards came in after he knocked on the door, with a den mushi in hand. Excuse me Vivi-sama, everyone, you got a call. He said as he walked in. From who? I asked. It's someone called Bon-chan. He replied. How should I know? Usopp exclaimed. But, he says that he is your friend, the guard added. Forget it, just listen to him. Luffy said. Better not, it might be a trap. Zoro said. I quickly walked to the guard and took the den mushi, thank you Mr. Guard. I'll take it from here and you can go back to your duty. I told him with a smile. The guard seems confused but shrugged it off and walked out after excusing himself. After the guard left, I put the den mushi on the bed and pick up the phone. Hey, yahahahahaha. It's me, Okama. Oh, ma. What do you want stupid Okama? I asked, totally not amused. What? Isn't this demon fox Eri sound? You're still alive, I'm so happy. The other replied. Hey, you're that Okama. Luffy joined in, what do you want from us? He demanded. Isn't this straw hat Luffy sound? You're still alive too. I'm so happy too. The other replied again. Don't call me Mr. Too. The Marine might have tapped into the phone, I might get into trouble. He added. You just said it yourself. Takao commented as he sweat dropped. Get straight to the point. Zoro said. Oh yeah, your boat, I took it away. The Okama said. Don't joke around. The others yelled in anger, shark-teethed. You Okama bastard. Pulling such a joke. Where are you now? Sanji-san demanded angrily. Aboard your ship, of course. The Okama replied casually. This Okama really pisses me off. Luffy growled. Wait, listen to me first. The Okama quickly said before the snail was making such a hideous grin I ever seen. Aren't we friends? He asked. Stop that hideous smile, Bon-chan. I grimaced at the sight of the snail, still with that hideous grin. He just laughed and told us that our boat along with himself is at the upstream of Sandora River before hung off. That Okama is at the upstream of Sandora River. Sanji-san said, can we trust him? He asked. We are friends. Luffy replied casually. You have a problem. Zoro said as he sweat dropped. But, we just have to look first. Chopper said. That's right, our boat is with him now. If this is his trick, we just have to kill him, Sanji-san decided. It's decided then, let's pack up. Zoro said and we're starting to packing up. Everyone, Vivi called and we turned to see her. Please tell me what I should do. She asked as she looked down. Vivi, listen up. Nami said, we'll give you 12 hours. When we get our ship back at Sandora River, then at midday tomorrow exactly, we will pass through East Coast. She continued. I'm afraid that we can't stop there, but forget it, she added. If you like to come to travel with us again, that's the only time you can come aboard. I told her, when it's time, we'll welcome you, but it's pirate's adventure. I continued. Cause you're a princess, we can only do it that way. I added. Must come okay. Vivi, you must come. Luffy said. Luffy, don't be like that. Nami told him. What? You don't expect her to come? Luffy replied. Of course not. It's her decision. She replied. You guys, Vivi called. You guys should bring the Super Spot Biller Duck Squad. She said. You guys need to hurry right. She finished with a smile. We grinned at her and thanked her. But if we use the front door, everyone will know, right? I pointed out. Don't worry. They're down here. She pointed out as she walked toward the window and opened it, while we followed her and sure enough, we saw the squad right below us. Cool. Come on everyone, wear your coats and grab your belongings. I ordered and they obeyed. After we finished, the Straw Hats jumped down and rode their respective ducks, leaving me with Takao-ka's flame already down there. As I was about to jump with my bag on my back while Takao was flying still in front of the window with the bundle of foods in his talons and I turned to look at Vivi. You know Vivi, I called, Pell is still alive, just so you know. I told her and grinned before jumped off and landed on Takao's back, leaving Vivi in her shock. Come on, Takao, let's go. I told him and he nodded before I looked down where everyone is, let's go everyone. I announced and they nodded before we're off from the palace to where our ship is, aka the Sandora River. This is comfortable. Zoro commented as he smirked while we go to Sandora River. We're going to say goodbye to the Sand Kingdom, I won't forget this battle, Usopp cried before turning to Luffy. Hey. Luffy, when are you going to finish eating? He asked. The food from Alubarna is great. Sanji, next time cook them. Luffy said as he ate, ignoring Usopp's question. I planned to, that's why I asked Terracotta for some recipes and some spices. The cook replied. Nami, are you okay? Chopper asked in concern, are you feeling unwell? He asked again, but Nami's still silent. Nami, I'll give you one of my meats, but just one, okay? Luffy said, probably trying to cheer her up. Nami-san, you're thinking about Vivi-chan. I understand your feeling, but however worried you are it's still useless. Sanji-san said, get your spirit up, Vivi-chan doesn't want to see you troubled. Nami started, I thought about it, for Vivi, I forgot about, she paused for a moment, that 10 billion berry. She finished and almost all of us yelled at her, shark-teethed. You are really a natural money-loving witch. The others yelled, shark-teethed, while Chopper cried at this and Usopp fell off the duck. Since the beginning, it was for the money. Takao exclaimed as he face-faulted. Arg, Usopp fell off. Please don't joke around. I wasn't joking around. It's true. About Vivi I don't have to worry about it. Art. Usopp fell off. He deserved it, who asked home not to hang on tight. It's your entire fault. Thank God I already took almost all of the books at the palace. I commented as I sighed and relieved and put a hand on my chest. You too. The others yelled again. After an hour or so, we finally arrived at the Sandora River. Why did you make me wait so long? Long time no see. You all are thinking about me. The damned Okama asked as he saw us. Oh, here we are. Nami said as the ducks skidded to a stop and the others climbed down from the ducks. You can take off the luggage now. Thanks for everything. She thanked the duck, who only quacked back at her. This is far enough, thanks. Zoro thanked the duck, who quacked back. Careful on the way back. Luffy told the duck, who quacked back too before the duck's about to take off to the palace. Give my regards to the king and the curly-haired dude, okay. Take care, he exclaimed, while the ducks quacked and giving salutes, thumbs up, dunno how they did it before ran off. Goodbye. If we're destined to, we'll meet again. The Okama bit as he cried at the sight that the ducks are left before snapping off of it. No, that's not right. Wait a second, he fumed as he slammed high foot at the railings. What the hell? Sanji-san spat in annoyance. You still ask? Geez. The Okama replied, what's this? Old friends meeting and you don't say hi. He pouted. Who are friends with you? You're an enemy. Luffy replied. Wah, that time was my mistake. The Okama replied, HMPH, forget it. That's in the past, let's forget about it, he added. Move, Zoro said as he climbed on the ship with many luggage in his hands. Ah, sorry. The Okama replied, Baroque Works is disbanded, we all are not your enemy anymore. He continued, even if you're not an enemy, I don't have to let you on board. Luffy huffed, HNH, and that's what I get for a favor. The Okama sighed, what are you talking about? Luffy exclaimed, oh come on, if it's not because of him, our ship will certainly confiscated by the Marines. I told him as Takao landed on the deck and I hopped off from his back to the deck and taking off the coats and putting down my bag. I can feel there's dozens of warships near the coasts, along with Hina-san and Smokey. And don't forget about that Tashigi girl. I said and stretched out. That's right, it's totally covered by Marines. Even a goose will have trouble escaping, the Okama confirmed. Then you took the Going Merry so the Marines wouldn't get her. Luffy asked in disbelief. Really? Usopp joins in. Why? Chopper asked. Because we are, friends aren't we? The Okama replied with a thumb up and tears streaming down from his eyes, also there's a sparkle appeared as he cried. That eventually making the trio stooges to dance along with the Okama. So in short, it's because of the Marines that you aren't able to get away. Zoro pointed out, that why you came for help, right? He asked, which eventually shocking the Okama at how bullseye that is. That's right, the Okama admitted as he cried, this is the time when enemies should get together to bust out of this situation. He said, while the trio stooges cheered up by that. We thank you all for the offer. The Okama's crew thanked us in sync. WHO cares about you all. Zoro yelled, shark-teethed. I just rolled my eyes and sat down on the deck as I zipped open my bag and taking out my logbook, started to write out the past events we got. I took out a lollipop and put it inside my mouth as I kept writing, ignoring the ruckus from the others. Then I felt an eye staring at me from behind, and for your info, I know who it is, but I just ignored it and kept writing. After I finished, I closed the book and stretched out, finally realizing that now we're at the coasts. I put the book right beside me and I felt dozens of warships are coming. Marines, I said shortly and clearly, which heard by the others. I stood up and walked to the upper deck as the others preparing up things and I took out my weapons, aka the small blades like cutters, scissors, and scalpel. And don't forget my main weapon that I put next to my feet. Careful guys, Black Cage Hina is on the lead. She has Paramesha type DF power, the bind fruit. Not to mention she could making giant spikes as projectiles. And it will be a bad news for our ship. I told them as a sweat trailed down to my cheek. And sure enough, the Marines are coming and Hina-san is right on one of the warships in front of us. As she saw us, she projectiles the giant spikes toward our ship. But before it pierced through Mary Go, I draw my weapon and warded the spikes away, making it flew right into the sea. Mr. Bonkure, bad news. The Okama's minions announced. What is it? The Okama asked. It's Black Cage. The minions replied. Black Cage Hina, she is the captain of the marine around here. We better run, she's a tough one. The Okama replied back. Yes, Mr. Bonkure. Well, look what do we have here, I said as I put a hand on my hip when I saw the pink blonde woman with a cigar in her red lips that looking back at me, it's the lovely Hina-san. How are you? I asked casually as I pointed my weapon. Hina is never better, Demon Fox Eri, she replied, poker-faced. And I never thought I'll be meeting you here. Hina is surprised, she continued. Oh really? I asked back playfully, well, that's a surprise, is it? Now, would you please kindly enough to let us through? I asked kindly. Unfortunately, Hina is unable to do that. She replied as she brought up her arms, I must catch you here and now, Straw Hat Pirates. And that's final. Then she projectiles another giant spikes, more than before. Takao, call your minions of the sea. I ordered him and he obeyed. Then he screeched loudly and something huge are surfacing, revealing huge seekings right beside our ship. The others were looked shocked and terrified at the sight. I just grinned as one of the seekings warding off the spikes using its huge tail, which making Hina-san cursed a bit, while the others were attacking the other warships. How's that? I exclaimed in excitement as Hina-san cursed. Everyone, don't ever got distracted, I added as Usopp pulled a cannon right beside along with Luffy stood up beside me. Hina-san is tough. Every time I ran off at the HQ in the past, she always able to caught me in no time. I said as my face paled a bit and shuddered at the flashback at where she caught me using that power of her right in the neck. Whether it was intended or not, it's still traumatic. What are you all doing? Let's go. If we head south, we have a small chance of getting out. The Okama exclaimed, if we go forwards, we will sink. You all just go which way you want. We go this way. Luffy replied the Okama. But, why? The Okama asked in disbelief and panic. Bon Kure-sama, quick. We have to escape. The minions exclaimed. We have a meeting at 12 on the east coast. Nami replied, we have no time left, we must go. Hey, really troublesome. Is there any treasure there worth waiting there? Just go and die for all I care. The Okama said as he huffed and turned around backing us. We are going there to pick up our friend. Both Luffy and me said in sync as we smiled, which eventually making the Okama turn to see us across his shoulder with such a hideous face fault before facing us completely, hanging his head low as his face was shadowed. Bon Kure-sama, the minions called. If we run away now, we're not worthy of being Okama. Bon Kure said, which shocking his minions while almost all of us confused by the statement and he turned around, facing his minions completely. If we're not able to sacrifice ourselves to help our friends, we will not rest in peace. He stated and his minions were shocked as they started to cry, along with Bon-chan. Straw Hat Luffy and the others, listen to me carefully. He said as he cried and there's a sparkle appeared beside his face as there's an awesome shadowing effect. Then he told us that he and his minions will disguise as ourselves and ran away while we hid it into the ship. We're actually protesting, but there's no other choice. XXX. Hina-san. Their 2 boats have left their course. Duck ship is going south. One of the Marines announced. Is the duck ship a decoy? Hina asked. No, that's. Straw Hat Luffy and his crew are in the duck ship. The Going Merry is a decoy. The Marine exclaimed. The female Marine captain checked it if it's true using the telescope, which revealing Luffy's face. Chase them quickly. Full speed ahead. Hina ordered the Marines. They obeyed and did what they've been told by the captain. The warships were chasing up the duck ship, leaving the Going Merry alone, making all of us get out from our hideout and Nami taking out a pocket watch. 3 minutes. Go. Full speed ahead. Nami announced and the others obeyed as our ship goes to east while I stared at the bunch of ships far away at the back deck and after the others finished, they joined in except for Zoro, Nami, Flame, and Takao and started calling for Bon-chan. 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 We will never forget you. The boys exclaimed as they cried. I just giggled at that before looking back at the ships, which starting to consume in flames and the smokes are high up in the sky. I smiled and thanked the Okama silently before walking back to the front deck, as we're getting closer to the east coast. And guess what? There are still bunches of warships in our way. What a waste of time. Takao, call your minions of the sea to beat them all, please. We don't have much time. I told him and he nodded before screeching loud, causing the Sea Kings to resurface again and attacking the warships. I walked to the back deck again while the Sea Kings are attacking the Marines, where everyone is as we heard Vivi's voice in far distance, probably her speech. I recently went on an adventure. It was an adventure over deep oceans and dark tides in search of hope. The ocean that I faced was vast the day I left this country. It is full of unbelievable islands which hold many things. There are creatures I had never seen, incredible sceneries, and the sounds of the waves. They are sometimes so peaceful, it's as if they were trying to cover up all the trouble around us. But sometimes they are so violent, as if they were laughing at the weak. But in the darkness and storms, I found a tiny ship. That ship pushed me forward and told me, can you see those lights? Did you hear that? The speech right now, it's definitely Vivi's voice. Zoro said, it's the ceremony at Alubarna. Seems like she decided not to come. Nami said, that ship will always find its way out of the darkness, and unbelievable ship indeed. It's as if it was dancing, sailing through gigantic waves. It just sounds like Vivi, that's all. Luffy denied. Let's go, it's almost 12 already. Nami decided. She will come. I know it. She is definitely over there. Let's dock and look for her. Luffy exclaimed. Even though it seems like they're just drifting, they only go forward, even going against the wind. In the end, it will raise its finger. Oi, bad news. The Marines are coming again. Usopp announced in panic. How many are there? Zoro asked. 4 or more. The long-nosed teen replied. Let's set sail now. Full speed ahead. Nami ordered. And say, look, there is light. Even if history will make this light seem like an illusion, they will always be real to me. Forget it, Luffy, she is different from Vivi that was with us. Sanji-san told the rubber teen while the teen didn't say anything in return. I walked up to him and put a hand on top of his head that covered with his hat as the ship sailed away from the coast. And with that said, everyone, we stopped our activity and turned our heads to the voice source, which revealed as Vivi at the coast with Karu. Vivi, Karu, the others exclaimed in excitement. Look, she came right, Luffy exclaimed. Let's turn back, quick, Usopp said. But before Usopp did what he said, Vivi cuts off all of our activities. I'm here to say goodbye, she exclaimed, which was shocking almost all of us. What did you say? Luffy asked in shock softly. I can't go with you all. Thank you all for what you have done for me. Even though I still want to go with you, but right now I really love this country. So I can't come along. Really? Luffy replied as he grinned widely. Sob, even though I want to stay here. But if there is one day where we meet each other again, will you all take me as a nakama? We all stunned at that and my eyes watered a bit, but I quickly brushed them off while everyone else smiled. No matter what Luffy started, but quickly cut off by Nami. Idiot, we shouldn't answer her, she told him. The Marines already saw her, if they found out we're friends, they will mark Vivi as a criminal. I told him with sour face and we all turned around, backing Vivi and Karu. Let's just part quietly, I whispered and shadows peered over our eyes. We're all silent as we slowly brought up our left arm, paw, wing and pulled down our sleeve, showing up our X mark. We're all smiling as almost all of us tried to not shed tears, but failed a bit. From now on, no matter what happens, the sign on this left arm will forever be the sign of our nakamaship. Let's sail. XXX. Those Marines, they're not chasing us anymore. Zoro said while the others just whined as a reply. Seems like we lost them. I added and just like before, the others just whined as a reply and the three of us, Zoro, me, and Takao, who perched on the railings turned to look at the rest. Oi, what's with that answer? Zoro pointed out as he sweat dropped after he got the same answer like before. What's wrong with you guys? He asked. We're lonely. The rest replied while Flame just woofed as they cried at the railings at the top level. Don't cry anymore, I told them as I huffed. Geez, still won't accept her leaving. Zoro growled. I knew that we should have dragged her aboard. Takao added. Wah, you three are jerks. Chopper exclaimed. Despicable. Nami said. Stupid Marimo and weird bird. Sanji-san sighed. Santoryu, Baka Eri, stupid Takao. Luffy said. Wait Luffy, Santoryu is not an insult. Usopp told him. Yontoryu. Luffy replied. You just added one. Hey, you know Natu. That could be an insult. Usopp suggested. Yeah, Zoro is pretty rotten if you ask me. I agreed and nodded despite I'm being insulted too. Yeah, just go cry for all I care. Zoro replied and turned around as he walked away. Suddenly the door under the weeping members opened. At last we're out to sea, good work. Someone said and we all turned to the voice source, which at the door to the storage room and there's a pretty woman standing there with such mysterious smile. The woman is none other than Nico Robin. Everyone's actions are so predictable while both Luffy and me just stared at the sight blankly. What? It's you. You're not dead, Luffy asked. Don't point these dangerous things at me. Robin said as she used her power to slap off the weapons from Zoro and Nami's hands. Didn't I tell you that before? Since when did you aboard this ship? Nami yelled. The whole time. I replied casually with bored eyes. She even used your clothes, Nami. I added. Wah, so you knew that she's here the whole time. Why didn't you tell us? Nami demanded as she grabbed my collar and shaking me fast, making me dizzy. You didn't ask. I breathed out and as Nami let go of me, I fell flat on the deck on my back, eyes swirling. What are you doing Baroque works? Nami yelled in annoyance. Monkey D. Luffy. Robin called. You didn't forget what you said, did you? She asked as she put down a lawn chair while Luffy looked confused at that. Hey Luffy, what did you do to this beautiful lady? Sanji-san yelled as he grabbed Luffy's collar. Hey, don't lie, I didn't say anything to you. Luffy replied. No, I remember clearly, Robin said as she sat down on the lawn chair, you better take responsibility. She finished. You're really weird, what do you want? Luffy asked. Let me join your crew. She replied, which earning almost of a shock at the statement while I just rolled my eyes and sighed. What a troublesome new nakama.